Okay, so it's like the coldest time of year. Boiler in my apartment stopped working. Just great timing. And I'm a round boy. I don't usually get very cold. I'm shivering at night. My blubber, it won't cut it.
That's really sad.
That's
I want
sad.
to make a joke about it, but it's just sad.
Did you have a hot water bottle?
Yeah, on my feet.
What you should do tonight, Brian, is you should get dressed up in your pajamas and your dressing gown and then go into Rebecca and be like, hey, I'm just going to hang out at John's for the night, but I'll see you tomorrow morning. Just because their heating and stuff works. Anyway, goodbye.
Okay, so I live in a housing development. Over the last couple of years, they've built more phases of apartment complexes, and they gave us the keys to an apartment that isn't used for living. It's a showroom apartment. Think of like the house from Arrested Development. And so we use it for hot showers, and they were like, you could sleep there too if you want. And we were like, okay, the beds are stripped. Like, you'd have to bring over all your duvets and stuff. There's nothing there.
I think there's like quotation marks around the can in that sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could.
I mean, it's not impossible. You go up there for long enough, you'll fall asleep eventually.
But it's so strange because, like, I still have the keys to this place, and I'm really, like, determined to return them because it's weird. And they're like, you could just hang on to those. And I'm like, there's a housing crisis in Dublin. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, it was just like, do you want to copy those keys? Give them to good old Niamh.
Yeah, we can all squat there.
Oh, we could get Niamh as a neighbor, like even more of a neighbor.
Like I know earlier on I was suggesting it'd be real funny if we recorded there, but like there isn't enough facilities in there and it's too echoey. But I do think we should maybe just have a look, because I do need to collect my towels, because I hung them up on the towel rail because it was a heated towel rail.
I think we should definitely go on an adventure to get your towels back.
You guys want to go for a skulk?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A classic skulking.
Yeah. The gang rides again.
Yeah.
Night crawling.
So like I was thinking, because like we're like I would
Stringers.
say this is definitely the coldest we've ever podcast, and it's not that bad. It's fine. Like Brian, you're in a t-shirt.
I am. We turned on the radiator for 1 hour and that was enough. I was sweating.
Okay. Because my legs are a little cold, but I was thinking, like, what if we, like, do the best episode we've ever done? From that point on, do we have to try and make the room cold when we podcast?
No. Niamh has Raynaud's. She's not going to do that. I don't want to lose a finger.
She's just
I
skin
think
and bones.
we've all had to make sacrifices for the
I'm too icy.
We've all had to make sacrifice for the podcast at various times, and I think your digits are just... That's just what's next.
Them.
No, you don't.
Like Niamh's gonna get frostbite from being inside a cold house. That's how.
We've had 3 storms in a row.
Oh my
God. Why is Ireland so stormy?
And they're really short and intense. There was one yesterday morning at like 6:30, 7 a.m. and I was just banging my window, just being like, "Let me in!" And I was like, "Brian, you in there, buddy?" And I was like, "No, I'm cold."
Yeah, I had to do something I never do today, and I had to turn around and run home from a run. Because I tried to squeeze a run in. I had a lot to do today, so I was like, okay, I'm not going to go for my lunchtime run. I'm going to go for an evening run. So I tried to fit one in earlier this evening, and then it started raining on me, and I was like, I don't care. And then it got really windy, and I was like, I do kind of care about the wind.
Yeah, wind's scary.
Wind's horrible.
Especially up by Phoenix Park, which is up on high land. Like, you're really, really exposed out there.
So then I ran to a shop, bought a yogurt, and ate it.
What kind of yogurt was it?
It was a strawberry Muller rice.
Oh, okay.
It's technically not a yogurt.
Yeah.
I do really like Muller rice. I think they're great. You can eat them hot or cold.
The big fan of the vanilla one.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god. Strawberry, solid second tier to that.
Yep.
Apple, never fucking ate it because I'm not an abomination.
I actually like the apple. It's pretty
really
good. It's okay. So there's a 3-pack. I don't know if they still do it, but it was the vanilla one that had like the actual vanilla pods, and it was a creamy vanilla. Mm-hmm. So you got 2 of them.
Yeah.
You got 2 of the strawberry, and you got 2 of the apple. And I was like, oh, well, I want 2 out of 3 of those, but I actually fell in love with the apple.
You acclimatized.
Yeah, and
I mean, the strawberry and the vanilla are both good, so maybe I'm cheating myself here.
the apples.
Do you want to weigh in on this conversation?
I haven't tried the apple for the same reason. I think it sounds bad, but now Brian has me curious.
Okay,
It's
you know
pretty
what?
good.
After our skulk, we're heading out. We're all going to get some apple vanilla Muller rice.
Sounds delicious.
Yeah, sounds like a really great use of our time.
A skulking man's meal.
Welcome to the Let's Fight a Boss video game podcast. The world's strongest video game podcast. I am sitting here. They call him Bad Mr. Frosty. It's Bryan.
The heat got in. The cold left. My body is a temperature.
That was a high cue.
And winner of the Mortal Kombat tournament, they call her Sub-Zero.
It's me, Niamh.
You guys impressed how I managed to get 2 fighting game based ice characters?
What was...
Bad Mr. Frosty is from Clay Fighter.
Yeah.
And also made a second appearance in Clay Fighter 63 and a third.
Yes, he's on the front cover. But my favorite character is Sumo Santa.
I'm impressed. Didn't know that was a character. So yeah, good job.
I bet I can think of another.
There's one in Killer Instinct that lady.
Yeah.
Glacius?
And then there's
What did you say?
Niamh, that alien has had such a hard life, and they would be so upset to hear you say that. We also got Frost from Mortal Kombat. Also,
You could have Ice Climbers from Smash.
Ice Climbers totally count.
Is there anything in Darkstalkers now that Darkstalkers is back?
Yeah, that's the Yeti thing.
Yeah,
from
there is.
Darkstalkers.
He's great. He's a big
And then
guy.
there's the girl from Street Fighter 5 who I mained for like 2 years, but whose name I can never fucking remember. The blonde girl who takes Gil's coat in Street Fighter 3. I can never remember her goddamn name. She fired.
Niamh,
Yeah, okay.
Niamh, you're gonna have to.
Cool it.
that's a video game character,
So, like,
and that's
that-
so disrespectful.
That was some good wordplay, but the like little nod of satisfaction you gave me afterwards really just sealed the deal.
And who are you?
I don't know.
He doesn't know anymore.
I've been looking at footage of myself all day, like for work, not like recreationally.
So like John has all these like photo albums, physical and digital, and it'll just be like John bathroom, and it'll be like a date from 2 weeks ago, and he'll just review how he did that morning, and
Yeah,
can he beat his own record?
You gotta have the optimum performance. What's the first thing you guys do when you wake up?
Get dressed.
What?
Yeah.
As soon as you open up your eyes, the first thing you do is get dressed.
I get out of bed and I get dressed straight away.
I pee. I have to pee right away.
Oh my god, I have so many steps to go before clothes come on.
It's just too cold.
Yeah.
I need to get my specialist cold clothes on. Okay, swear to God.
Okay.
And then I
okay.
go and make coffee.
How about you, John?
Oh my.
Do you not have to
This
pee?
is like the.
Yeah, like maybe before that. No, I'd probably pee maybe mid in the night. Go do my own skulking.
Yeah, no, see, like for me, I have to get up at 7 and pee, and then I'm kind of like slowly waking up from that point on, but like, I know it's the next morning because I have to get up and pee.
I know it is because I have to get my
you're
get
cold.
my thermal on and then make some coffee.
Wow.
Okay, so John, what are the steps for your body to wake up?
This is gonna be one of those things where you guys are like, "You're such a crazy person."
Yeah, go on. Okay, so everyone, this is how John wakes up in the morning.
Okay. It's not that weird. I wake up and I get out of bed.
And what's the first thing you do?
I shit and piss for 10 minutes. Okay, look, I don't.
Why do you need to shit after waking
Imagine
up?
peeing for 10 minutes, but
No,
also...
no. Hang on. I don't.
It's like simultaneously
Okay,
an even
no, I
amount.
don't like the idea of crud building up in my body during the night. And so I find a toilet and I sit on it for 10 minutes and I time it because I want to make sure everything's gone because I want a clean start to the day.
Okay, and so when you say you find the toilet, is that because like a toilet can be
No,
whatever
it's
you
the same
want?
toilet every morning. It's
you-
the same toilet.
It's not like a bucket or
It's not a bucket.
or like an empty space
Brian,
in the
you
wardrobe.
know neither of these are true. I would never defecate in my own apartment
I'm just
except in the
wondering.
assigned areas.
I'm just confirming.
Guys,
what
we
you,
have a lot of morning to get through, so if you want to keep doing this rigmarole, this can be the entire podcast. Then I weigh myself
Every morning?
every morning,
Every morning you weigh yourself.
every single morning.
I think I weigh myself once a year at Christmas, and I'm like, whoa,
Yeah,
that's
same.
a lot of turkey.
I don't weigh myself at all.
Yeah.
I think that's just bad for your brain.
I like it.
Okay.
Because it's like...
He's like, that's a number.
But then sometimes you weigh yourself, right? And something psychologically happens and you have to go to the bathroom again. And then you get to weigh yourself after going to the bathroom again and seeing what you lost.
See how much the poo you did weighed?
Yeah. My record is half a pound.
Oh my God.
You wanted to know this.
Okay, go on, keep going. I'm sure there's porridge at some point.
Well, yeah, we're about 4 steps away from porridge, but there is porridge.
Jesus Christ.
Then I meditate for 10 minutes.
And what?
You'd
Your
want
poo-
to.
about what? Your poos?
Yeah.
Would you not meditate while you poo?
Okay, well, Brian,
that's
the
like
fact
2
the fact
birds.
that you think you meditate about anything shows how ignorant you are of the process, because it's about clearing your mind. This is why I'm so chill all the time,
Oh, yeah.
because I meditate every morning.
I think you should do it in the toilet because you could clear your ass.
No, I'm,
Yeah.
I'm looking at TikTok on the toilet.
your
Oh,
TikTok.
Then I write in my journal about everything that's happened so far.
Jesus.
Yes?
Yeah, I just don't know what happened so far.
Well, usually it's about like things from the previous day or
Okay.
dreams or things like that or feelings. Then I do my stretches, not to be confused with my yoga, which comes later in the day.
Oh my God.
Then I drink a pint of water. Then I take a single banana, 150 grams of porridge oats, half a cup of rice milk, maple syrup, and a small teaspoon of special peanut butter.
Why is it special?
Okay, do you know what? Episode 159, special peanut butter.
Because it's not crap peanut butter, it's good peanut butter.
Okay.
It's mostly peanuts. And mix them all together, put it in the microwave, 3 minutes, take it out, a little bit more milk, another 3 minutes, stir, stir, stir. Fucking delicious. Listen to my book on nutrition. Okay?
Yeah. Is
Then-
the morning over again?
No! Niamh, I've gotten up at like 8 o'clock. It is now 8:15.
Oh my God.
No, that's not true. I get up at like 7. But then I prepare myself a coffee because that is my reward, Niamh, for doing my morning right.
I think coffee's just the reward for waking up and being alive.
You didn't... No. You
got
don't get
through a day.
rewarded for that. You don't get rewarded for that.
God, you're such a priest.
I knew it. I knew if I shared my extremely normal routine, this would happen. Then I go for a walk and then I get to work.
That's like so much.
So what happens when you're sick? Do you still do all of this, or do you actually like give yourself a break and like recover? Or
Brian, if I get sick, my entire business shuts down.
so like just,
I just work sad.
So like
He poops sad, he eats sad porridge, he drinks sad coffee.
What about anything I've said has implied that is not a delightful morning?
I don't. I thought I was bad because
0.5 pounds, Niamh.
I don't know, it just sounds like one of those like dystopian sci-fis, and it's like the protagonist wakes up in his like fucking hypercube, and he's like doing all, and it's like, "Good morning, John," and it's like, "You have done a big one this morning," and they give you the measurement.
Gives you
and
the
you're,
weight.
yeah, and you're
Well, that would save time. But yeah. Look, there's a lot of weirdos on TikTok and YouTube who are like, here's my morning routine. And the difference between me and them is that I don't talk about it except for right now. And you guys asked.
I just wouldn't base my life off people on TikTok in general.
Oh no, that's a fantastic idea. Did you guys ever see that that one guy who asks Grimes' ex, what's his name? Elon Musk.
Elon Musk.
He's like,
yeah.
hello Elon, I am a super genius like yourself, and I would like to be the CEO of Tesla. And he's 100% serious. And Elon thinks he's joking, and then he's like, no, I'm not explaining myself well. It is one of the most grim videos. Only if you want to cut in some audio.
I would like to come on board as vice chairman of Tesla.
We don't really have a vice chairman spot, but yeah, I mean, I think that's. I'd have to say no. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I can also apply for a future CEO position, but at least I would like to come on the board of directors.
If you got time, buddy. If not, don't worry about it.
As John, I'm sure if you send him a link and you line it up, the chances are he will probably do it.
I don't like to consciously make Oni's job harder. He does such a terrific job as is, you know? Like, you guys know he's going to put a bunch of hours into this podcast that he does not need to.
We have meandered so much, Oni. I'm so sorry.
I know.
Yeah, I keep it all in. Keep it all. I want to keep everything in.
I just want to sidetrack because I just remembered a John on the toilet story that I
Oh
want.
my god.
No. Okay, so I remember before when I was in college and I befriended John, but I was only in Dublin for the semesters of college, and then I would go back to my hometown. I remember one time, it was over the summer in the mid-2000s, I spoke to John on the phone. At the time, we were still using house phones, but John's house phone was cordless. And we were chatting away, and about 10 minutes into the chat, I heard the sound of a toilet flushing. He had been talking to me the whole time while he was making a poo.
So unprofessional.
I just don't think that's weird. I think that's okay.
But also, it was really strange because up until that point, I didn't know he was doing that because he wasn't doing any exertions or strains. He was just like having
yeah, that's the lower body's problem.
And so like the way John is talking now is the way John was talking to me on the phone. So like at any point when John is talking, he could be, making.
I have trained my upper body and lower body to be completely independent.
That's all.
I don't know what that means anymore.
Oh, you will.
What does that mean?
He's like cat dog. It's like their own things.
I am very productive.
Do you guys want to talk about like TV shows or
Yeah.
something?
You know what? Maybe that's I'm reflecting on the last like 9-10 minutes.
Oh no, John! 21 minutes.
Oh,
Do you remember when I was like, we shouldn't make this episode so long? Fuck them.
that was a reasonable request. I'm sorry.
I know, but it's funny to get sidelined and sidetracked and meander.
Guys, I watched The House.
I've seen this as well. It's fucking brilliant.
I haven't seen this, but I want to.
It's so good.
You know, there's parts of it where Michelle looked at me and was like, "That is very Niamh."
Yeah. It's 3 30-minute short stories combined into a 90-minute feature, all in stop motion.
Two of which are two of the most fucked up things I've ever seen.
Yeah, and then the other one is productively very well made, but the story's a bit weak.
I like the story. I think I wanted the first one is just one of the best horror films I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, and their tiny little faces.
Just these tiny little fucking pinprick faces floating in this just massive void of a skull.
Okay, so the first one stars human beings, and it's a period piece set in like Victorian England, I guess.
Yeah.
They are moving into a new
house. The tone
of
it is just incredible.
How are these models made? Is it clay? Is it felt?
Felt.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And you can see frame by frame the felt like kind of like swishing around.
Yeah.
Love it.
There's one bit where I think a character gets like a shiver of emotion and they don't move, but their felt kind of frizzes for us. It's so good. But it's genuinely so upsetting. Like, it's about this family who live in this small house and this
little cottage house.
Rich artist?
Yeah.
I mean, rich artist, land-owning kind of person comes along and he's like, you can move into this mansion. He's like, you can have the mansion. And they're like, okay.
What's the catch?
And they
the
do.
catch is real fun.
And then the artist starts rebuilding the house around them. So the little girl wakes up one morning and she goes to where the stairs are and they're gone.
Yeah.
And there's just all these creepy construction workers, and whenever she tries to talk to them, they all just stop what they're doing and look at her. It's brilliant. It is so, so good. And then the second one, it's not quite as horror,
but still fucking
but
creepy.
It's really uncomfortable.
And that one's about rats.
And it just keeps pushing the discomfort until it ends up about, like, that last scene was about as horrifying to me as anything from the first movie.
Absolutely. Yeah, like the first one is about, second one is about a rat who is living in a home. He's the architect, I think, but he's trying to sell it while still trying to live in it, and he does an open house.
He seems like this kind of person, this sort of like hobbyist workman who's like gotten into flipping a house and is way over his head. and just his mounting desperation to try and sell the house, and then the house becomes overrun with insects.
Yeah,
and
like weird,
as he's
cockroach
trying
creatures.
to hold like an open house, and it just gets worse and worse and worse.
And
It's real anxiety nightmare stuff.
It is like it's an anxiety film.
And for some reason, he's voiced by the lead singer from Pulp.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the guy who sings Common People. What's
Wow,
his name? Jarvis Cocker, is that his name?
I have no idea. He was
really
great.
good. He was
All the
brilliant.
voice actors are great.
The third one's probably the weakest, but the thing I liked about the third one, and this one's about cats, and it's like a dystopian thing where like the world is flooded, and this is one of the last remaining houses, and it's kind of like a tenement building. I thought the animation and acting in the last one was amazing.
Yeah, brilliant.
And like, because in that one they're cats, and like cats emote differently to humans, but the cats emote like cats, but like to me the range they got out of those puppets was astounding.
So good. And like as well, it was a really interesting film in that like I'd agree with you in terms that I thought it was the weakest, but I think the first two films were so strong that to me it's like it's still very good, the third movie. And I was disappointed it wasn't really a horror. Like, it gets kind of existential, but it wasn't a horror.
Yeah, and like, it's got a happy ending, whereas the other two are just like, do you see?
Yeah, oh my god, the ending, like, I keep thinking about, like, the last shot of the second film. But, yeah, this is brilliant. I've talked for a long time about how much potential I think animation has for horror, and this is such an amazing example of that. I've never seen something like this. It's on Netflix.
Yeah.
It's like an hour and a half. Everyone should watch this. Like, it's just it's brilliant.
It's all done by the same studio, Studio Nexus, but the way they did was they worked on the projects at the same time, and they had co-directors on each one, so there's 6 directors total, and they're each kind of like doing their 30-minute short simultaneously.
Yeah, and they're all about like
a house,
the relationship you have with a house.
Yeah,
you know, like the first one is very much like, to me, and maybe this speaks to the specific situation we're kind of in, Bryan, where it's like someone has complete control over everything in your house, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. I guess if you rent accommodation from anywhere, but when it's like a large corporation and everything has this weird bureaucracy to it. Like in my house, I have a bed that is never used, and I asked them to take it away, and they were like, "We can't take it away." And like the rooms are small, so that half that room is just a bed, and I put chairs on it and take photos of them sometimes, and that's all that I do.
Yeah.
But then like the second one is about like the anxiety of trying to sell a house, and then the third one is like how difficult it is to kind of let go of a house. And they're great. Like, they're really, really strong movies.
I really want to watch them. I cancelled my Netflix though, but they email me every single day.
Oh my god, do they what? It's so expensive though.
Yeah, my rule is I can only have one subscription service at a time, and I got rid of Netflix to have Hey You and binge Real Housewives. And then I had to cancel that, and they kept emailing me being like, "Are you sure you want to cancel?" And I had to send them an email that said, "My brain is applesauce from watching this show. I need to stop." So I cancelled. So I'll go back to Netflix eventually.
Yeah.
I have like 4 streaming subscription services just about wrestling. I'm not proud of it. Like, I don't watch Stardom that much, Niamh. I just want to support those women.
That's, if you can do it, do it. One thing that bums me about Netflix and stuff like this is, like, one of my favorite shows is on Netflix as well, and it's another stop motion one, like Real Akuma and Kaoru. You just, like, you can never have that. They've never released a DVD or a Blu-ray or anything. It's just like, if I don't keep this...
would Netflix be against that?
I wonder, because I would love to own that physically, even if it was in Japanese.
There's a show like Stranger Things, like that's a flag. I think Orange Is the New Black came out on DVD at one point.
But I think that was like early Netflix. I don't think they do that anymore.
No, like they're not worried about their brand enough to diversify like that. Streaming's weird.
Yeah, it is. It's weird watching them all congeal into one. Bryan.
Yes.
Tell us about Betty.
Actually, speaking of streaming, Betty is a HBO, but I think HBO Max, which is the HBO streaming service, television show about an all-girls skate group in New York City. And this show is incredibly difficult to watch if you don't live in America. Because...
You mean like physically difficult to watch, not because of the subject matter?
Physically difficult to access this show.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
I can't get every episode. There's, for some reason, season 2, episode 3 is not at 100%.
This is because this show is like a weird indie gay skateboarding show.
It absolutely is, and the cast is like it's not a popular show.
Yeah.
Holy shit, isn't amazing though. I wrote I found some facts about it. So this is directed or created by Crystal Missel, and it's based on a short film that she made where she found a bunch of New York skaters and made a short film called That One Day, in which they're kind of playing fictionalized versions of themselves. From there was a feature film called Skate Kitchen, where they kind of did a bit of improv and acting, and they're playing characters that their lives are based on. And then Betty, which is the next step in it, is them playing a different version of their characters with a broader script, because it's a television show and they can kind of tell different character arcs with different characters. But she directed one of my favorite documentaries ever in 2015 called The Wolf Pack.
That's fucking brilliant.
Which is about those brothers that were living in a Manhattan apartment and had never left the apartment and only made films in their bedroom. But then when they got old enough and they realized that they outnumbered their dad, they started like walking around Manhattan. And she found them on the streets and was like, "Who are you guys?" and decided to make a documentary about their lives. And I will watch anything she makes. But Betty's super cool. I think they're called Betty because it's supposed to be a nickname for a girl who skateboards. And I think it comes from like the Archie comics, where I guess there's Veronica, and then I guess is Betty like the Tom girl?
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess like the slang
more
is
of a Tom girl than Veronica.
Yeah, and so I guess the slang is that the girls in Betty are a bunch of Bettys.
Okay.
Which kind of makes sense. But it's just about
kind of a Sheila Australia situation.
Sure.
I think isn't that a lady surfer in Australia? A Sheila?
I've
I don't know.
never heard that.
Do we have Australian listeners? I assume we do.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah,
I mean, statistically we have to.
We do.
I spent a month in Australia. What the fuck is up with your insects? No, thank you.
They're too big. There has to be slang. Have you watched much of Betty or Skate Kitchen or anything?
I, like you, have not been able to get all of it.
Yeah.
So I've watched some of the season 1.
Yeah, like, because season 1 was made before COVID, and then season 2 was made during COVID. And it's cool seeing all the different shows, you know, because we're 2 years into COVID now. And it's cool seeing all the different shows approach COVID, or as to whether they do or don't. But I guess Betty kind of borrows from reality a whole bunch, so obviously they were going to lean into it. But their version of COVID is super good. And season 2, which I'm watching at the moment, is them trying to find somewhere to skate during the winter. Because you could skate during the summer outdoors, but during the winter is really awkward, especially with COVID.
Oh.
And they keep shutting down warehouses. Fucking sucks. And they get treated like punks, even though all they want to do is skate. But also they're a bit bold, but you know, that's okay.
That's fine.
Fuck the man. Kurt, who's my favorite, she broke her leg.
Oh.
So now she can't skate.
That's such a crime. It's like a ballerina who can't dance.
Kurt's so bold.
Yeah.
That thing where where a bunch of them are getting their nails done, and Kurt says that thing about her nails. Niamh, that's very bold.
What did she say? You can't leave it hanging.
She keeps
only
it's not going to get a season 3, unfortunately. I think
it's crazy that it got a season 2.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
How did that happen?
And like,
I guess it's cheap to make.
It's incredibly cheap to make, and I think everyone who's part of it is a labor of love. Like, they want to keep making this show, but also this show evolved from a short film to a feature film to a TV show. It might have a fourth form, and
comic.
It could be a comic, it could be a video game, who knows? But actually, it's because of Ollie Ollie. I was like, oh, I want to watch more skateboarding stuff. And I'd seen Skate Kitchen a few years ago, but then I was like, oh shit, Betty. Same team and everything. So I watched Betty. I watched this other skateboarding movie that Vince Vaughn's in for some reason. It's not good.
I really like, Bryan, how you will kind of... Whenever I like check out media, it's pretty like just random and whatever is next on my list. But I do kind of enjoy the way you will pick like an actor, director, or subject and kind of go through it.
Oh, that's really fun to do. I love doing that with music as well, like going through an entire discography, or just picking like an actor and be like, what are they known for? And starting at the start and going all the way through.
It was cool last year because there was like one or two like American Sign Language deaf movies, but then there was like TV shows, and then like all of a sudden there was like 4 or 5 different things coming out at once. So I ended up watching all of them because I just wanted to see like what levels they were all at. But it wouldn't have happened if I hadn't watched one of them. But yeah, it's just like a domino effect.
That's cool.
It's fun.
Yeah, for sure.
And then you become an expert in something for like literally 3 months, and then you move on to the next thing, and all that stuff you learned just exits your brain.
Hyperfixations are very fun.
You saw Uncharted, the game, the movie.
Oh my god.
I did.
Is this film good?
It's kind of much like the Uncharted games. It's while you're watching it, you are entertained, but literally the moment you stop watching it, it just leaves your brain.
That is exactly my experience, and I only played Lost Legacy, which seemed cool. It was one of the 2 girls.
Yeah, that's great.
It's one of the better ones.
And I'd be playing it, and I'd be like, yeah, and then I'd stop playing it, and I wouldn't think about it for a single second.
I think the most interesting part of this movie was at the start of it, they played the new Sony Pictures ident, and this had like Kratos and like Aloy and Sackboy and
wow, they have
like
plans,
Ellie.
don't they?
Yeah, and
it's got Ratchet and Clank in there. Yeah.
It was really like reminiscent of the like Marvel Studios kind of logo where they flipped through their characters and stuff, but this was all blue and all these like
here are our legacy characters. Yeah.
Do you think they're gearing up for another platform fighter?
No. No, they're gearing up for more stuff like this.
Like, I think another platform fighter sits into that, and especially with the run that Smash Bros just had, like with the internet exploding every time a new character appears.
And then stuff with like the Nickelodeon fighters that kind of borrow heavily but kind of don't get neglected. It seems like they would have a fair shot.
Didn't they try it before?
Yeah, it did terrible.
Yeah, and all their characters are so samey.
That's because so many of them are marketing characters, you know. But like, I don't want a Sony platform fighter. I just think they're going to try it again.
Maybe. I wouldn't put them past them in this new world.
I'd love like a third person. I'd love a third person shooter, and you can just like switch out between all of them. And they're all like, "Yo, man," and they pass the gun to each other.
Smash Bros is kind of a metaverse, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this stars Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg as
oh my god, yeah.
as Nathan Drake and Sully.
Okay, so this movie is kind of like if you made a person play Uncharted 4 and then they died, and then you hooked their dying brain up to a machine and it spat out a movie based on Uncharted 4. So yeah, it's weird because it's kind of the start of Nathan Drake's story, but it's more based on the 4th game. But the 4th game is the one that flashes back to Nathan Drake and his brother Sam.
Yeah.
And this movie opens with young Nathan Drake and his brother Sam. And it's just so generic. Like, both Nathan and Sam are kind of in a home, and they get in trouble because they break into a museum because they're obsessed with the idea of being adventurers and explorers. And Sam runs away, and before he leaves a whole pile of plot significant stuff. And not like plot significant stuff like these are going to help him through, but like kind of like emotional hinging devices, you know, like the necklace with his ring on it, and a lighter that he always that Nathan Drake always carries with him.
I
sentimental
sentimental iconography that he will carry with him and will be the basis of jokes and other crap. Like, they just do that straight away. But he leaves a note for Nathan, and Nathan has to put his lighter under it for him to see the note. And the note reads, "Remember, you'll always be a Drake." And I thought that was such fucking bullshit. I was just like, oh my god, okay. When that happened, I was just like, here we go. This movie means nothing. Like, it's just empty. And I'm gonna try and not spoil it, but if you've played any Uncharted games, like, you know what happens. They look for treasure.
There's usually and there's usually a villain, a double cross, and there's always a thing where like they're trying to outrun the villain, but what the villain does is they hang back and then wait until they uncover the treasure, and then the villain swoops in.
Kinda, yeah, that's kinda in this as well. So like, again, light spoilers, but like I couldn't even spoil this movie if I wanted to because I don't even know what is a spoiler here because it's all just Uncharted-y stuff. Tom Holland does a really good job. Like he's kind of carrying this movie on his back in terms of his charisma.
He tries really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very
enthusiastic. And you can
enthusiastic.
feel that. Like he's super enthusiastic from this. He's like he's super fit. He's really trying his best in this movie and he does carry it. But he doesn't feel like Nathan Drake at all to me. This movie opens up on that scene that they're marketing with where the cargo stuff is falling out of the plane.
Oh, from the third game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, it could be Spider-Man. He's knocked out, he wakes up, some guy gets hit with a box and he's like, whoa, gee, you know? And like, it's just super CGI, it's super impossible, like, moves for a human to do. He may as well be Spider-Man without the suit in this.
I watched a bit of that Spider-Man film the other week. Michelle was watching it and I watched like the last bit over his shoulder. I don't think a lot of that CG looked good.
Yeah, I thought this kind of CG was fine. I was just like, this is serviceable.
Yeah.
It's probably really, really tight deadlines.
Yeah, and it's starting to feel it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The weirdest part about this movie is Sully, who's played by Mark Wahlberg. And Sully in the games, to me, is kind of this Sean Connery-esque character.
He's much older.
He's older, he's got a cigar, he's kind of like he's Nathan's kind of...
He has a belly on him as well.
Yeah, in the older ones, yeah.
Like,
in the later ones.
Yeah, it's just like, to me, Mark Wahlberg, like, that dude wakes up at 5 a.m. and works out.
Yeah, and that's kind of what's weird about this. So this is like, he's not a young Sully because Mark Wahlberg is 50.
Yeah.
But he's really like, maybe he should have been Sam. I don't know, but the linchpin is like Nathan Drake wants to find his brother Sam. But he kind of recruits Nathan Drake to help him find this treasure that Sam was helping him to try to fight before. And it's just so weird because like they get into a auction house and there's a female character in it called Jo and she's played by Tati Gabrielle. And for all intents and purposes, this character is Nadine.
Yeah.
She is like the main bad guy's right-hand man who kind of is the kind of sub-boss kind of thing.
And she's like an enforcer, I guess.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. And there's a bit in it where Nathan's looking at her and she's looking at him and he's just like, oh, Sully, she's looking at me and she's giving me the googly eyes. And like Mark Wahlberg's character is all like, oh, I won't touch her. Like, you know, I've had experience there. And then you meet Chloe Fraser, who is the other girl in this, and she's pretty good in it. And there's another moment where Nathan and her are kind of having a moment and Mark Wahlberg is like, oh, I wouldn't go there, you know, and kind of this suggesting kind of like that they've kind of have this history with each other. Like he has this history with both these women. Both these women are the exact age of Tom Holland's character, you know, and Mark Wahlberg is 50. And this movie spends a lot of time with Mark Wahlberg in a tank top looking really ripped as Sully. And it kind of feels like they're like trying to put in this second leading man in there, this like second hot leading man.
Well, Mark's ego is very fragile.
Yeah, it kind of fucking feels like that. And it's just like, if you're going to be this kind of legacy, like this character of Sully, he's not embodying Sully in any capacity. But other than that, he seems to be kind of competing with them for the main character role in this. So he's not really like, you know, a guiding hand for Nathan Drake. He's this own kind of shitbag character, Sully. And I just don't know why they made this version of Sully in this movie, other than Mark Wahlberg was attached to this originally back in 2011 and he kind of had some kind of deal with them that he just had to be in it. And it just felt like really, really weird because it was like this 50-year-old dude running around with 3 teenagers. Well, like they're not teenagers, but 3 people in their early 20s. And
Young
it just,
adults who have child faces.
yeah, and it just felt really, really like, okay, Mark.
Well, do you guys remember Mark Wahlberg's statements on 9/11? May I read it?
Yes, please.
Okay. I just think it makes a lot of sense with everything you're saying in this movie.
He missed his flight, didn't he?
I don't think that's him.
No, Brian. This is worse and funnier.
Okay, here we go.
Oh my God.
No, Brian, you are right.
Yeah, him and Seth MacFarlane missed their flight.
Yep.
On that day.
On being
Really?
scheduled to be one of the planes that crashed into the World Trade Center.
I knew it.
So, if I was on that plane with my kids it wouldn't have went down like it did. There would have been a lot of blood in the first class cabin, and then me saying, okay, we're going to land somewhere safely. Don't worry.
Oh, well, thanks, Mark.
Wow.
Do you watch that Boston bombing movie he was in, Boston Strong or whatever?
Boston Strong.
And it's just
It's like you could make make a joke name about what Mark Wahlberg would call a movie.
It's the most like Boston Mark Wahlberg fucking just obnoxious fucking thing ever. I'm not a Mark Wahlberg fan.
Nah, me neither.
There's loads of sleight of hand robbery in this.
Oh, pickpockets and stuff.
Yeah, kind of. They pickpocket each other a lot, but it's that type of sleight of hand kind of lifting objects from each other where it makes no sense. Like, it's not possible.
Okay, so it turns into like those magician heist movies.
Does Tom Holland turn to someone and say, catch me if you can?
Probably. But there's a moment where he's talking to Chloe Fraser, and they're like 3 meters away from each other, and she like runs off, and then Sully's like, check your bag, and like
Oh no,
the magic item is missing from his bag.
the MacGuffin.
Yeah, and it's just like a lot of that, like, when did she get a chance? How did that happen? And it's just like, it doesn't matter. It's happening for plot significance. Just all you need to know is that they're all very cool and very good at this. And it's just like...
I do like it in films when everyone's cool.
Because for films like this, usually there's like hyper-focused fans that like to play it back and freeze frame and pinpoint, oh, look, they bumped into each other here, so that must have been when character A lifted the prop from character B.
There's no moments. Like, there's literally...
Like to me, this game movie should have loads of detail to it.
It's weird. You know the detail it does have, Brian? There's a moment where Nathan Drake opens up his, like... box of keepsake belongings to get some stuff that his brother sent him, and there's a Naughty Dog sticker on the inside of the box.
That's a studio that developed the games. It's a pretty cool Easter
go.
egg for you for grandma.
Yeah, circle that one. I wasn't bored, but like, I don't know, it was so generic.
Like Uncharted.
Yeah. Okay. How is this compared to the Alicia Vikander Tomb Raider movie?
I think the Alicia Vikander movie is better than this. And it's not just because I'm more of a Tomb Raider fan, but it's because even though that movie is completely pulled down by this is an issue with all of Tomb Raider, where they can't get away from Richard Croft and her having to, like, I don't know, save Daddy's legacy or some bullshit like that. It's pulled down by that aspect. Because Tomb Raider had a smaller budget.
Yeah.
It felt more purposeful or something, and even the chase scene at the start with her on the motorbike, and even her like fighting physically in a gym because she's like has a brawl in a gym in a boxing match kind of thing. That all felt more impactful for her as a character. This was just like CGI, like faux sentimentality, big moments.
I watched that Tomb Raider movie and I enjoyed it well enough.
Yeah,
I was like. I feel at least someone on this production gives a shit about Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Alicia Vikander is really good on it.
She was amazing. She was the best part.
Yeah, and I think she was actually pretty well cast for Lara, where I think Tom Holland is just...
He's a bit too young, but...
he's a bit young.
It could be that they want to do a franchise and they want to do sequels. Oh, yes,
they absolutely do. This was absolutely set up, and there's a mid-credits sting. Like, it's like the start of the next movie.
Oh my god.
You know, this is their Marvel universe, and it felt like a worse Marvel movie.
There's a lot of people who like Uncharted. I've never seen anyone go to bat for Uncharted and be like, this is amazing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're like...
It's kind of the Assassin's Creed thing. I've never met anyone who loves Assassin's Creed.
I would argue there's definitely way more Assassin's Creed fans in the world. There's like at least...
I guess there's a lot of Assassin's Creed cosplay.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's
cool
weird
looks.
lore to that.
Yeah.
I just think with Uncharted, because it borrows so much from other things and it's just like a mishmash and very little of it is original stuff, it's not as sentimental.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's like in the moment you're playing those and it's like set piece after set piece and they're fun, but
There's
it's
so
like
much
afterwards
fun.
You're like... Okay. There's no Elena in this at all. There was no Nadine. There was her kind of stand-in character, Joe, who I liked. But yeah, again, there wasn't much going on. There wasn't much going on with any of it, to be honest. A good plane movie?
Yeah.
But also a good plane movie.
Yeah.
was pretty good. I thought like that. A little bit of wordplay there was. We did well, guys. I watched Cuphead.
As did I. I'm only like 6 episodes into the.
I think
the
I'm
first,
exactly 6 episodes in.
Yeah, because the first batch is 12 episodes, 12 11-minute episodes.
I nearly find this difficult to talk about. When you think of like, okay, what's like the best possible scenario for an animated cartoon made out of the Cuphead TV series? I'm just like, well, this is it.
Yeah.
It's just a kind of perfect version of what it is.
It's a really cartoony-ass cartoon.
Yep.
At least the first 12 episodes, or the first batch, feels like it's just like, like to me, they're just short film cartoons.
Yep.
It has a bit of a continuous narrative, but a lot of them are kind of standalone.
The devil will show up is kind of the narrative.
Yeah, but then other episodes are let's take care of the baby.
Yeah. I actually really like that episode.
That was a good episode.
God. It looks beautiful, and like I love the animation in it. I love the backgrounds in it.
Yeah.
Oh, they're so nice. They're that real old school, highly rendered 1920s, 1930s background. And they just look great.
I really love when it goes into the stop motion ones as well, from the Fleischer, like the Popeye meets Sinbad short.
Yeah. Like I watched the one in the graveyard today.
Yeah, holy shit.
Oh my god.
So at work, half the team who worked on Cuphead I'm now working with on my current project, and all I'm doing at work is picking their brains about like, how did you do this shot? How did you do that shot? The amount of work, there are people who listen to this podcast that worked on Cuphead, and like, fair fucks to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's there's so much hard work put into it.
Yeah, I think a good bit of this for me is like, there's a nostalgia to this, and I think a big part of like, this cartoon feels like I think I thought a lot of cartoons did when I was little, and if you go back and watch them now, it's like Felix the cat strangling a duck for 2 minutes straight. Like, that's not an exaggeration. That like, and it will loop that animation, and Felix will be like, oh, and then the duck will be like, and it'll just keep going back and forth like that. It's really strange, but they didn't know what they were doing back then, so it's fine.
I do think it's funny with animation 90 years ago that, like, if they had a nice piece of animation, they would repeat it. So if a character walked through a door, he'd walk through the door like 4 or 5 times. Yeah. Check it out, I'm walking through the door. Cool.
But a lot of this show just really reminds me of like old videotapes I had when I was a kid, and there's a real guilty dopamine release I'm getting from that. If you don't have that and you're not a child, like, I don't know that I could say like, oh yeah, you should definitely check this out. You should check out episode 1 for sure, just to see
very impressive.
How amazing it looks.
Yeah, it looks amazing. There are big differences to the game in that, and I think the 2 big ones are Cuphead and Mugman don't click and shoot finger guns.
No.
Which
I keep waiting for that every episode.
So like, they don't run and gun. And like, it's weird because like, Cuphead, the game, those characters have appeal, but they don't really have a personality.
Yeah.
Whereas I think the personalities of Cuphead and Mugman in the show, where they're these 2 brothers that love to beat the shit out of each other, is really funny because they're actually believable as siblings. All they want to do is like have fights, but like they plan to fight each other in the kitchen or in the living room for some reason. And that's very realistic of siblings. They're like, oh, okay, it's time to fight now.
Yeah.
And then another thing is, and this is purely for budgetary reasons, is in the games, you know the way the bosses would have loads of different forms and they would transform, like physically transform into other objects.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the 2 frog brothers, Ribby and Croaks.
That's such a great episode, but yeah.
But their video game version of that boss battle is so different because they would like shapeshift and transform. But obviously they can't do that because that would be ridiculous. But that's like a rule from that era of animation that isn't carried over to this, where I guess that's more a contemporary thing that they're borrowing from the now and applying it to the then.
Yeah. It's weird as well because in like the Cuphead game, the whole story of that game is that you have signed a deal with the devil, and you are bringing him lost souls. But in this, it's that Cuphead loses his soul to the devil in episode 1 and then gets it back, and the devil wants his soul from Cuphead. So there's like, they've shaved off a little bit of the sinister edge of Cuphead, but only a little.
Only a little.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do like what they've done with the devil. I think he's very fun.
Him and King Dice.
Yeah, oh yeah, I love Mr. Dice so much. Is it King Dice or Mr. Dice?
I don't remember.
He's voiced by Wayne Brady, which is pretty good casting because like he's from Whose Line Is It Anyway? So he's kind of just doing his Cab Calloway impression.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with it. Like, really, no real criticism. You know, it's just like, yep, this is fucking cool.
Yeah, it's not lore heavy, and I know it doesn't lean into any of the difficult stuff from 1930s animation because that was a very different time.
Oh yeah, completely.
That might still happen. Because I guess, you know...
I think there was a lot of controversy surrounding Cuphead when it came out, and I think whoever was involved in this is probably very aware of that and was very careful, because that got nasty. It is King Dice, and the second search result was King Dice X Devil.
Whoa.
I totally got that from that episode.
Oh, yeah.
That's the other thing. I was watching this and being like, at some point I was really enjoying it, and then I just got this uncanny, like... I bet a lot of people are going to make porn out of this.
Oh, yeah.
So my favorite, like, gag character so far is Bowl Boy. You know, the ones where they break the handles off the cup and then they're worried that they're just going to look like a bunch of bowl boys.
Yeah.
But then later on they meet like a bowl boy and he's like this fucking Martin Prince weenie
totally. And they're really mean to him.
Yeah, fuck that guy. Bowl Boy's so lame.
Yeah. Do you know what's not lame? Strategy talk.
Video games are so cool.
Yeah, I like them now.
Yeah, we're not going to talk shit about any video games.
Oh,
No, not at all. we're going to keep this super positive. Just posy vibes pretty much all the way around. Niamh, why don't you kick us off with the game you are most excited to talk about, Dying Light 2.
Yeah, I was playing more of Dying Light 2 and I was enjoying the parkour, and I kind of had gotten used to the first area that you're in and just moving around that area, kind of had it figured out, kind of did a lot of the side quests there, which is just going into these buildings during nighttime and kind of getting your loot and getting out, and just like I was deft at moving through that city. Like there's these chases where zombies will chase you and I could move and I could get out of the way and I felt pretty slick. There was always this threat of another area opening up, the game getting bigger, and then it happened and it's this huge city and suddenly all of my parkour is a bit useless because they give me a wing glider. And it's the crappiest wing glider I've ever experienced in a video game.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, because every game needs a wing glider now. Thanks Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
And it just like took the momentum just straight out of it for me. Because like the other map I was in, it wasn't small. It was pretty big and there was a lot to do in it. And then they gave me this other map that's like 3 times the size of it. Give me much taller buildings that I can't scale without using my wind glider and like these jets of air that will, because you have a stamina bar as well, because of course you do.
So this game, you're just zigzagging vertically from platform to platform.
Yeah.
With the wing glider.
Yeah.
I remember I found that a huge bummer in Breath of the Wild as well, because I really enjoyed the puzzle of like, how do I get up there?
It was so fun with the first 10 hours with you and the horse.
And then everything just became like, use that gust of wind, the wind glider.
Yeah.
That is how you traverse this land from now on.
Go to a very high point and go diagonally down.
Yeah, that's what this has become. But like, if you run out of stamina halfway through your kind of diagonal down, you don't just like float down. You just drop and you die. So you have to find a gust of air that will give you a boost, but also will replenish your stamina. And like this, like it just sucks because what was good about it was the parkour, and now I'm kind of just a little hamstrung from doing my cool parkour. I can still do it, but not to the same degree. And now it's more icons on a bigger map.
Do you feel like this bigger city is like not as designed for parkour?
Yeah, no, it's not.
So you can't.
This is the glider
that makes sense.
part.
Yeah.
Like you still parkour around. That's how you get around the place.
So
That's your movement.
how cartoony are these vertical gushes of air? Are these extractor fans?
They're extractor fans
with
and they
like
glow.
visible speed line.
Yes, yeah.
Oh my God.
You can see them straight away.
So you're like, there
This
are
is
particles.
very video gamey.
Okay, so it's got particles rising upwards, and you're like, I wonder if I billowed upon that.
You just aim towards them. Like, yeah, this game is like extremely telegraphed video game. Everything you can climb has like a yellow mark on it, and if you like need to jump down to something, there's literally a mattress with a blue X on it for you to land on. If you,
it's gonna be such a bummer when we're playing Elden Ring and you get an air glider.
no,
And like it's like the one item in the game that hasn't like any art direction. It's just like a neon yellow hand glider.
It's like the first asset, and they just dragged and dropped it in.
Yeah, just no one ever thought to change it.
So I hate this second part of the game because despite giving me some sales, it has taken the wind out of them. And
You're on fire
Whoa.
this evening.
And
That's a back of the box quote.
there's like the side quests are still the same. You meet someone, please get me this item from here. It's just going into a building, grabbing thing, running back and return them. The story got a little bit more interesting when I met Rosario Dawson, who is a sniper in this.
Cool.
Just a character with her face model and her voice, and I don't know, she was also experimented on as a child, and now we're teaming up together to figure that out. But this new area of the map was so big and so frustrating that I was like, I'm just gonna do the plot. I'm just gonna hit my main missions and kind of get used to this area through the main missions. And then I did all my main missions in there, which was like around 4. And then it took me out of there and brought me to another part of the map that opened up even bigger. And I'm just like, fuck this. It's just huge. It's just so huge, but it's full of nothing. And none of it has weight.
Press this button on the hand glider, it grows legs and does the missions for you.
Oh, it's so like, it's just, if they had made it a smaller, more tailored experience, because the other part of this is you unlock areas and you can assign them to different factions, but it doesn't matter. The first place you give, it's really like, you should assign it to the bazaar, and you're like, okay, I'll assign it to the bazaar. And then the second place you go, they're like, you should assign that one to the peacekeepers, and I was like, okay, I'll assign it to the peacekeepers. So they're all at war with each other, but it doesn't matter. And then I meet this third place, and they were like, oh, you thought the bazaar was good? They kind of suck. You should assign stuff to us. And like, it's just, it's like none of it has weight. It doesn't matter who I assign it to. They're all going to be a little mad at me and a little happy with me.
Let's maybe your tune's going to change in another 250 hours.
Oh, I just think I'm done. Okay. I think the best part of this game is the first area, the first 20 hours. I don't think the story is interesting enough for me to keep going.
It's super interesting hearing you talk about like the open world stuff, because like I am such a huge fan of like intimate open worlds where it's like, hey, you can run across this entire landscape in like 4 minutes, but the amount of shit between there and here, and it's all designed, like that's what I love. Yeah. Kamurocho, Dead Rising, stuff like that.
Yeah, where you like know the city. Yeah. And I was starting to get that in the first area where I knew the city and I knew where to go and I knew where to climb and where my safe spots were. And then it just like kind of took it away from me by giving me 2 more. It was like someone gave me a pizza and I ate it all and I had 1 slice left and I was like, this is perfect, I'll be full. And then before I could eat it, they dropped down 2 other pizzas and they were like, well, they're fresh. You can eat them if you... I'm like, I don't want any more, but it's there, I guess. Like, I guess I'll just keep eating it. So I just like, it's just so much. It's too much. And this is the type of game, if you buy 1 game a year, that's the way you play games, for whatever reason, then great. This game will keep expanding and you'll have loads to do. It's all very samey stuff, but you'll have it. That's great. I'm not that type of person. I like to try as much.
You like to pick and choose.
Yeah, little things as possible and have different experiences. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm done with it. Like,
that's fair.
I was gonna wait to trade it in when Ghostwire
Tokyo,
out.
which is out in 4 weeks approximately.
Yeah, and I was just like, do I have another 4 weeks with this?
I think for a good long while there, there wasn't a lot coming out, and now I'm starting to feel the pressure of like, oh dear, there's things I'm playing and there's things coming out.
Kirby and Ghostwire out the same day.
Oh my god!
And I'm getting both of those same day.
Yeah, I think I might have to as well. That Kirby game looks amazing. Ghostwire looks really cool.
It looks cool all of a sudden.
But yeah.
It's just not good enough to keep me away from other games that are happening.
And I think that's fine. I think like you have to make that call. Because like...
You've spent your time in that world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sometimes I wonder that like, if I didn't have this podcast or didn't like have the channel, would I put more time into games that I thought were okay? Because like, I have some friends who they will play 200 hours of a game. And I used to do that. And I don't anymore. And sometimes I kind of miss it, but I also do just love playing lots of games. But you know the comfort of being like, I know this game infinitely well. And I'm just going to sit down and I know exactly what I'm going to get and I'm going to do it. I don't get that very often anymore.
No.
I kind of miss it.
I really like being 5 hours into a game and you know it's a good game. And you've played 5 hours of it and there's a bunch of time ahead and you're in that sweet spot.
Totally.
Mm-hmm. And I really like open world games. Like
you do
a lot. And this one just is not giving me anything. Give me too much of nothing.
Too much of nothing.
That's Spice Girls.
Is it?
Yeah, isn't it?
I think you're right.
Nothing.
Oh yeah.
I love Spice Girls so much.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Guys, I beat Sifu.
Stop right now.
Whoa.
Thank you very much. You beat Sifu?
Oh, I see what you're doing, Bryan. Okay, whoa. Yeah, okay. I've done everything you can do in Sifu. I can't remember where I was with this game last time we talked about it.
You were in the second part of the...
I can't remember emotionally. And Bryan, whenever I talk figuratively, you need to assume that I mean emotionally.
You were bottling the barmaid.
Oh yeah, you bottle a lot of barmaids. There's an entire level about that.
It seemed like you were in a weird place about spending your life.
Yeah.
Or your days.
I now
years.
understand every part of that game and everything it's trying to do, and I feel way more positively about it. I really, really like this game. I think the problem with it is there is a learning curve towards the beginning that is near just vertical. And I think so many people are going to completely bounce off it.
Did you see the trophy data? It's people are stonewalled by the second area.
The second boss is a motherfucker. But the thing is, like, the way the game works is, you have basically 80 years to make it through these 5 levels. And 70 years, because if you die when you're over 70, that's game over. You beat level 1 and you're 25, you beat level 2, you're 35, then maybe that boss fucks you up a lot and you're like 52 at the start of level 3, all that kind of stuff. That second boss can beat the shit out of you so badly, you'll be like 60 or 60 years old starting level 3, and so you just don't have any health and you just die. But if you're willing to just spend an hour or two getting your ass kicked, the learning curve of that game flattens out so quickly in a way that feels amazing. I started going through those levels and I was going all the way through the entirety of level 2 and the boss without losing a life, and it felt so good. It was real, dopamine flow state inducing. I understand everything this game is asking of me, and this feels fantastic. And I think a problem is they just don't explain that there's 4 different defensive options in this. There's dodges, avoids, blocks, and parries, and they do not explain how you need to understand each one of them.
So dodges and avoids are different defenses.
So a dodge is I'm probably mixing this up in the terminology of the game, but one is if you picture Steve Fox from Tekken. It's that exactly.
That swing.
And then the other one is a more traditional kind of sidestep like you'd find in a Dark Souls or something like that.
Okay, so it's like a big effort dodge versus a low effort dodge.
Yeah, and the low effort dodge you use to be okay, I know this guy's combo, I have the timing down, dodge, 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 and then you're going to parry his last hit and then like do your attack. Whereas the bigger dodge is more like, there's too many enemies surrounding me, I need to reposition myself. Like those are really, really different uses.
Yeah.
And it's like 80% of this game is just learning which defensive options apply to what. And then once you learn it and commit it to muscle memory, it really is so much fun to like just go into a room of people, especially when you know that this room of people like took you 30 years to beat on your previous run, and you beat them all without getting hit. It feels fantastic. And I really, really ended up kind of loving the game for that. There was a kind of few issues I have with it. You can do this thing in it where you can go into a kind of extreme slow motion and pick a like special attack, and it triggers a little cutscene where you do that attack, and like it's unblockable to the enemies. And you can put experience points into unlocking more of those attacks. And they do something at the last boss. So I guess like slight mechanical spoilers for Sifu's last boss. They take away that ability. And what really frustrates me about that is that those are points you could have put into like health or your block meter, but if you invested in the focus meter, you've completely wasted those points.
Okay.
And you just feel like an idiot. Like you just feel like, if I do a second run of this, I'm not going to put it into focus because there's no point.
And like, do you get those points just in a run? Like, say if you started a new run, those points are gone?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, like that's kind of a heads up you'd need to know.
Yeah. And the last boss, obviously, is by far the most difficult boss in the entire game. And like, I get it, because like when you go into focus mode and it's just, rather than like your little menu, it just says you cannot focus on him. It is like an oh shit moment. But then when I was like, got used to the practicalities of what that meant, I was like, okay. Second thing that kind of has a problem, there is, so you beat all the beat all the bosses, you kill the last guy, and you get the bad ending. And it's like, what the fuck? Credits don't even roll, and you're like, what? Why did no credits happen? And it turns out that each boss has like 2 health meters. They have a structure meter and a health meter, and if when they're nearly dead, you stop attacking them and only concentrate on parrying their moves, you break their structure to the point that you get the option to spare them because you've like proven that you're a better fighter than them, and they just kind of give up. It's an interesting mechanic, but the only thing that I hate about it is like when you're fighting these bosses, you always get this prompt where you have to press like square or circle and triangle right at the end. That's to finish them, you know? And you guys know, like in boss fights like that, when it's like a really tense boss fight, you're hammering on that thing the second it appears.
Yeah.
The amount of times I was doing the pacifist run and that prompt came up and my muscle memory just hit it and I had to do the entire level again, it was really frustrating because like you spend the first half of the game learning that, you know?
Yeah.
Then you get to the last boss and that prompt comes up again and I was like, oh no, you're not getting me this time. But then it turns out you do need to press it for then, because you're gonna attack him, but you're gonna spare him in the cutscene.
Right.
And it's just like, at that point I was like, what do you want from me?
Yeah,
you know?
like why offer you the option then? Why not just play the cutscene at that stage?
Yeah.
To me, this sounds like a game from the 90s that has these cryptic rules, and the only way to know about it is a kid in the playground tells you based on their, like, mistakes, and you know not to do that.
You're 100% right, because, like, I could see that there was more to this. Like, I could see that I didn't get the thing, so I was like, okay, how do I do this? And then I went up and looked like, how do you get the secret ending in Sifu? And then I was like, oh, cool, I can spare them, okay. And then I tried to spare the first boss like 3 different times, killing him every time. And then I had to look up like, okay, I need to look up a very specific guide of how to spare him because the mechanics just weren't obvious. This is all like pretty nitpicky, honestly. I had a fantastic time with this game.
The ending.
Yeah, it is. But like the good parts outweigh the bad so heavily. And like another thing I'd say, there is a level in this that is you fighting your way through a fine art museum, and it is fucking amazing.
Do you smash all the objects?
Oh yeah, yeah. You are punching people into those water fixtures, and it's great. You know, it's really, really good. And this is the first game I've played this year that like I really feel like, oh, this is going to be like, I don't think it's going to be my game of the year. I think it's going to be up there. You know, and if you like scrolling beat 'em ups, it is like a genuinely great reinvention of that formula, and I'd actually love to see some games like take the concepts this has introduced and take them even further. Super good game, really, really glad I got into it. When I bought it, I thought 40 quid seemed like too much of it. I don't feel that way now. I think this is a really solid package, and I think it's Slow Clap is the developer, and I am now really interested to see what they do next. Niamh,
Yes.
why don't you tell us about
Voice of Cards 2.
Yes.
Voice of Cards, the funky Maiden?
Yeah, that's it.
She's funky?
She is. It's the Forsaken Maiden. And this is the second in the Voice of Cards.
That's just the Niamh version.
Niamh's just having fun with some words.
It's true. So this is the second Voice of Cards, which is the Square RPG where everything is presented as a card game. All the terrain is cards, all the shopkeepers are cards, all the shops are cards, all your equipment's cards. Even if you're not equipped anything, your empty equip slot is a card. With the second one, there was a few stuff I wanted to see change from the first one, and they made some changes that I appreciate, but they also made some changes I do not like. So, first, there's a lot more new cards in the sense that there's...
I would hope so.
There's kind of a little yes and a little no. So, there's a lot more enemy type cards, new enemies with this, and the illustrations are still beautiful. There's a lot more different terrain in this because this is about you being on a group of islands, and there is a maiden on each island that you have to go visit. So you have to visit 4 islands. So there's a lot of sea, and you have a little boat marker to go along the seabed, and you get to flip all those cards, and it's really fun. The NPCs are all reuse from the last game. All those illustrations are the same.
That's disappointing.
A little bit, but there's... Yeah, it kind of is. But there's so much new stuff for other locations that I'm kind of okay with it. And when you make a second game in a series, in my mind, okay, you have all this reuse. You have all the lessons learned. All the mechanics are there. You know what you're doing. So now you get to make something bigger, maybe, or more... You get to
smarter, I guess.
Yeah, you get to
Work smart.
You get to try some stuff now because you have all of this stuff.
Yeah, like the engine's built.
Yeah. So the combat in this, the first game I found too easy. I never used any items. In this, I'm happy to say that it is less easy. It is not much harder, but it is definitely something where I've had to heal more regularly and use items. And I even got a game over, and I had to go back and go, okay, I need to reassess what I'm doing here. And it was just me being careless, but before I could walk through the game carelessly, and now I have to think a little bit more.
Sure.
So, not very hard, but definitely more of a challenge. The other thing I wanted to see changed was the speed of just the cards flipped very slowly and the animations were very slow and your movement speed was very slow on the board.
Very tedious.
It was very tedious. I felt the game would probably be half the length it was if you could move a bit faster. And with this from the start, they have the speed up mechanic in it, but you have to do it from the options, like the way they added it in with the first one, and it can break the game. And there's literally a little note that goes, if your game gets fucking broken because of this...
Wait, as in it's like bugs?
Yeah, it will bug it out.
What the fuck?
Because it goes too fast and
it's like the card animations. Yeah, for some reason it just messes up the animations of the cards. So I don't use it because of that, because I don't want it to bug out my game. But the natural speed does feel a bit faster anyway. Like the natural movement speed feels faster, and your character's moves feel faster. The enemies seem as slow, which was a weird thing. But there's clearly something they can't do there to fully speed it up because it will break something. So that's it mechanically. Narratively, I'm going to do light spoilers for Voice of Cards 2. So this is called The Forsaken Maiden. And instantly I was like, oh, I don't like that as a title, because when you bring maidens into something, I'm like, oh, it's gonna be some purity shit, some sacrificial shit, like it's like anime and maiden in my mind. I'm like,
she is a vessel for a bigger plan.
Terrible things are happening that woman.
Yeah. So your main character in this is called Bryan, and he's a boy who wants to get off his island because his island is one of the only islands in this group of islands that doesn't have a maiden. And the maidens are the people who keep the island safe. And he meets a girl who can't speak, but is beautiful and a little stupid, so the perfect girlfriend.
Nice.
And he realizes that she was meant to be the maiden, but she has lost her memories. We're very early on introduced to the concept of the maiden altar. So there's a giant slab-like altar for the maiden, where she will make a pact with a demon to keep the village safe. And I was just like, oh man, we're gonna sacrifice these maidens so hard.
I think at some point we maybe should move past Final Fantasy X.
Final Fantasy X did it, and they did it well.
They did it really well.
And I was like, okay, that's gonna be my non-choice later on. And the idea with this is my maiden, Lati, cannot be a maiden because she's lost her memories. So
Niamh, just to say, like, she's not your maiden. She's a person.
not in this game.
Can you fucking believe this? Really? Oh.
You get the opportunity to go and meet 4 other maidens, and you have to ask them for their weapons. So the first maiden I meet, I get her weapon, and it's very obvious that something bad's gonna happen. They all have a retainer, like they're kind of guardian, so you get to meet 2 new characters on each island, and that's the fun of this. Like, you're looking forward to seeing this new character design, this new beautiful card art, and see these 2 new characters on each island. So the first maiden I meet, you know, she is clearly in a relationship with her like retainer, and that's all fine and dandy, and they're having these moments where they're like, wow, I'm glad we got to see this together, and your character is like, it seems like they're saying goodbye, weird. And it's just like, oh dude, like, dude, she's not coming back. And yeah, ultimately that was it. She didn't come back. So the game seems to be about sacrificing these maidens. So I go to the second maiden, and it's the Crimson Maiden, and the Crimson Maiden is a boy. And I'm like, oh, they're gonna subvert my expectations with this and make there a male maiden, and it will be like a gender neutral like a thing, like, you know, our queenship. It's not a gendered thing. Yeah. And I was like, cool, finally, a little bit of subverting this very tired anime trope in this anime game. No.
Is the boy girl?
Yeah. The twist in this is actually, she's not a boy, she's a girl, and the artwork changes when she's in boy mode. She's like got this cool little outfit, she's like holding her swords, and she's her hair spiked up. When she gets revealed as a girl, she has her arms folded in front of her, and she's wearing a veil. And I'm just like, I literally said, fuck this game. And I'm like, okay, I'll get to the next maiden. And this is where I've stopped playing. I am like 7 hours in, and knowing the last game, I'd say this game's around 26 hours. Ooh. And I'm hoping that this will get somewhere interesting with this plot, because currently it is just extremely generic. And at least the best thing I could say for the first one is, before it got generic, it was so funny. It was
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask about, because you were saying how, like,
it was
all
really
the weird
charming
muscle humor and stuff in the last one.
The first one had all of that. Like, it started, it was a little generic. In the middle of it, it was like this hilarious muscle fetish weird game with really clever dialogue. This has none of that. I haven't laughed once. It's like they were like, okay, I guess we won't do a comedy this time. So at least the comedy of the last game kind of elevated the kind of generic plot to something a bit more special, because you're like, okay, it's a comedy JRPG, and you like, I haven't played one of those before. You don't really get like a straight out comedy game. And this just has dropped the comedy part of it altogether.
That's really disappointing. That sounded so fun about the last one.
So I'm kind of like maybe I'll meet a funny character. Like, I'm fingers crossed, but like, I'm really missing Bruno from the first game, and I'm really missing that humor from the first game, because like that's what was carrying it for me through the genericness of it. And now I'm just kind of in this like, okay, like Maiden story, and
some of the designs look nice.
All the artwork is beautiful, like 100%. That's my favorite thing about it. I love looking at these cards. There's really cool designs in it. It's just like, and there is moments in this, like when I say like I wanted them to do something bigger, they do. There's a moment where you go into this kind of, Latty has this inner world that's corrupted, and you have to go to Anxiety Town.
Oh my god! I live in Anxiety Town.
That sounds like something you would learn in secondary school, how to deal with, emotional problems.
This game feels like it maybe is this young audience at its core, but like they aesthetically change everything, where it goes all black and white, and the cards are glitching, and it has a bit of a like Madoka, like Walpurgis Night kind of
cool.
stuff.
That's cool.
Where, like,
Whoa, textures.
Yeah, there's textures, and there's like flashing text that says like misery and stuff that. And they do that in the first part. And then the second chapter, there is like, there's a Colosseum where you kind of do plot fights in the Colosseum. And that was new as well and fun. So it's like they are putting more into it, but what they took out of it, which was the humor, is kind of a devastating blow for me playing this game, because I can deal with a lot of this generic plot if I was finding it funny. But I'm kind of just a little like, I bet this will happen, and then it plays out exactly like how, like if you've watched anime, if you've played JRPGs before, you know what this story is.
It's very okay, so it's got a predictive formula.
Yeah.
Okay.
And saying all of that about it, like, I enjoy playing this game a lot. Like, it is, you cannot get lost. It is a table full of cards, and where you go, the cards flip. Like, it is very easy to play. There is no side missions. You are mainlining a plot all the time, and there is no way to really not be doing that. So it's a very easy, enjoyable game to play. Like, I'm not bored with it. I'm entertained. The battles are interesting enough to keep me going, and discovering the new maidens and the new artwork all the time is fun. But ultimately, I wanted Voice of Cards to be this series that I could look back on and be like, that is a cool thing on the Switch that people should play. But it's kind of like, the presentation of this is cool, but
Yeah, sure.
And that's Voice of Cards
That's
too.
Voice of Cards too.
Will there be a third one?
I feel yes.
Yeah.
I mean, the second one came out so fast.
Yeah, it's such a quick turnaround. It's been, like 6 months?
Yeah.
That's so wild.
Like, if they can churn these out, and people like me who didn't fully love the first game went, wow, I'll pre-order this straight away and play it. Like, why not? Why not do it? I hope at some stage, if they make more of it, that they'll do a collected physical version of this.
I'd say they will.
Brian, you've been playing Mario World.
I've been playing...
I'm sorry, I have this upside down. Wario World.
It's pretty good. Wario World is a video game that came out on the GameCube, and I never played it until now.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never played it either. Is this the 3D one or the hand-drawn one?
This is the 3D Wario platformer.
Okay.
So this game came out, depending on your region, and this is actually super interesting. The way we were talking about how games come out in Japan first, and then they might come out here, when we were talking about all those games coming out on Switch that were like 20 years old or whatever. Wario World came out in the West in summer 2003. It came out in Japan summer 2004, a full year later.
That's so weird.
This game is developed by Treasure.
Okay.
Who are Treasure?
They made Mischief Makers. They've done a bunch of licensed games like the Astro Boy game on the Game Boy Advance. Gunstar Heroes. This is a Treasure game. It is a mishmash of a run-and-gun, side-scrolling platformer beat-em-up.
Okay.
With Wario. And it has nuanced controls, as most treasure games do, where you have a bunch of different abilities that you will use in combination, and they've applied that to Wario. And so Wario plays very differently to Mario. And the way he interacts with his enemies is very different to Mario. When Wario jumps on an enemy, he just bounces off them. If it's a weak enemy, he'll be able to pick them up and throw them. But the way they do this is that it does play like a side-scrolling beat 'em up, in that you are grabbing enemies and swinging them around and throwing them into other enemies, and you're charging at enemies, and it'll take 10-20 hits to take down an enemy, and they'll explode into coins. And like a Wario game, it is a treasure hunting game. There's only 8 levels in the game, but it takes about 45 minutes to 1 hour to beat each level if you want 100% the game.
Okay.
And the game is designed in a way that when you get to the end of the level, you can teleport back to the start of the level to collect all the stuff you missed along the way. Because a lot of it is button switches that you'll press that will unlock treasure chests that you need to go back to an earlier part of the level to collect. I'm playing the Japanese version of this game because I've heard the Japanese version, the Western version was very rushed and it's glitchy, and apparently the Japanese version fixes a lot of those stuff. It's like a patch, but in real life.
Yeah.
But they've also added more boss battle phases, especially to the last boss.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, and so it's a more refined, definitive version of the game.
Sure.
And the story is Wario's in his castle having a great time. Turns out one of his treasures is actually a cursed object. Sucks him and all his treasure into an alternate dimension. Wario has to collect all his treasure and beat up a bunch of baddies. And Wario has 4 mainline games on the handheld. To me, the Wario games are the Wario Land series, and they're all about slower paced platforming, treasure hunting, and the way you fight enemies is more intimate and more charged, rather than you're not running through a level as fast as you can. Rather, you're going very slow and you're scratching your way through. Like a corner scratch. No. No genre.
No, it's a different genre.
No, completely different genre. I was wondering how they would translate this into 3D, and this game is 3D in the way that something like Crash Bandicoot is 3D. It's a corridor, but the corridor is left to right rather than in Z depth. And so it's like a stage diorama where you can see where the level vanishes, and you're like, okay, so they're small levels, but they are, they're simple levels, let's say, but they are dense at the same time. Yeah, I'm playing it in Japanese. You don't need to speak any Japanese to play this game. Charles Martinet, who voices all the Nintendo characters, more or less, voices Wario, and it's in English, because Wario doesn't speak Japanese.
He's Italian.
Apparently he's German.
That makes sense.
He's of Bavarian descent.
Huh.
He's a burly, strapping mountain man.
So he's not like an evil clone of Mario. He's just someone who happened to grow up like him.
Yeah, he's bad Mario.
Okay.
And him and
but
his...
he chose to be.
Him and his domestic...
no one's forcing him to wear those overalls.
Wario and his domestic partner Waluigi get a kick out of taking the piss out of the Mario brothers.
And that's what they've just dedicated their entire identity in life to.
Yep. Wario likes treasure hunting. Mm-hmm. I don't know what Waluigi's hobbies are because he's kind of a very underdeveloped character, unfortunately.
I hope we get that Waluigi game. And I know it's impossible, but if Tingle got a fucking game, Waluigi could get one.
Tingle got fleshed out, and he's a fucking disaster.
Just some visual novel.
Yeah. I know there's fan games like his Taco Truck Adventure. Apparently that's his side hustle. He's into Mexican food.
Cool.
And it's one of those cursed games that people were like, oh, it's real, but and then it actually got made into a ROM, and it's meant to be pretty good. I'm really, really enjoying this game. It's definitely a treasure game. One of the biggest problems I have with treasure games, and it's to do with the enemies, is that more or less the basic enemies are enemy and bigger version of the same enemy. Mm-hmm. And the worst one for this is probably the Astro Boy game, where they use the same sprite and they've scaled up the sprite, but it's not twice as detailed. It's the same amount of detail. It's just the sprites are taking up twice the amount of space.
I mean, it's really similar in Gunstar Hero. You fight nearly the same enemy all the way through, but the thing about Gunstar Hero is there's a boss every 15 seconds.
Yeah.
They did that in Stranger of Paradise demo as well. There was Goblin and then Greater Goblin.
And it's just the same skeleton.
Yeah, it's the same goblin.
And so What they do a lot in this game is you recognize the armature rig and they have put it on a new skin. But you're like, oh, this is this level's enemy. It's just in a different costume.
Yeah.
That's fine for the most part because there's enough variety in the attacks that it stops it from being stale. It's like another smartly made game, I guess, in that like Treasure is a fairly small video game company and like Treasure aren't doing good. I checked, I was like, man, Treasure made so many good games. Check what they've done recently. They haven't released a game in like over 5 years. And
I mean, whatever they're working on's got to be.
oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And the last couple of games have all just been licensed anime games or like anime manga games, but they never left Japan. And I don't know, like they're incredibly niche games.
What genre of game are they? Do you know?
No, I like. Oh, I actually want to. I'm just going on Wikipedia on this. Okay, they were founded 29 years ago. Games developed, and there's like a big list of like all these games made in the 90s and the 2000s, and then you get to like the 2010s, and you have Bangai-O HD that came out in the Xbox 360.
That's a big deal. Those games were very popular.
Yeah, so their last Bangai-O came out in 2011, and then in 2013 and 2014 on the 3DS was Geist Crusher and Geist Crusher God, and that's it.
Huh.
Yeah, cross-media franchise including manga adaptations, anime, and...
If people haven't played Gunstar Heroes, I think, is that in the Virtual Console?
The Switch Online
The Switch
thing?
Online.
I think it is.
If people haven't played Gunstar Heroes, they really should. That game fucking rules.
They also made Sin and Punishment, and that's part of the N64 expansion.
I've never played Sin and Punishment.
It's fucking brilliant.
Yeah, okay, I should.
I love Treasure.
Me too. Huge Treasure fan.
Which I didn't know they made a Wario game. And it's
that's
2022 and I'm playing it and it's fucking wild.
Yeah. Guys, I played King of Fighters 15. This is the 15th King of Fighters game.
So this is a real game that actually came out.
Yeah, this is the game we talked about last year where I showed you guys the trailer and I was like, is this like a scam? And I am pleased to report it's not a scam. It's an actual video game. You can play it. You can input commands and digital characters on the screen will carry out those commands.
Wow.
Well.
Yeah. No. King of Fighters is weird because like they came back, like they basically were one of the greatest looking fighting games ever when they updated when they did basically the Gen 2 of their sprites, like the real proper revision of anything, and they quadrupled the size of the sprites and gave them all these weird lighting effects and just...
Yeah, they look amazing.
The most beautiful, and like right up there with like the very best 2D pixel art you've ever seen. Like that's SNK. They know this stuff. And then King of Fighters went away for a long time and came back in King of Fighters 14, which is not a very good looking game.
And that's a 3D modeled game, isn't it?
Yes, not to be confused with King of Fighters Maximum Impact and Maximum Impact 2, which are also very ugly 3D looking games. And this one came out, it's also 3D. It's better. We're getting there. We are a far cry from like the aesthetic perfection that King of Fighters used to be, but it's better, you know.
Is this still being made by SNK?
Yes.
Wow.
Now, there's a whole thing where it's been bought and rebought, and like there's some kind of shady people at the top of this company that make this a little difficult to talk about.
There's a very bad person who's bailed them out at the moment.
Yeah, and they fucking suck. But like, in terms of like, you are definitely still feeling that visual trade-off. This is a King of Fighters game. This plays like King of Fighters, and I know that because I can't play King of Fighters. I love King of Fighters so much. My brain has never clicked into the specific kind of fighting game it is. I don't understand how a fighting game exists with so little emphasis on punishment, but I like playing it. I like the characters. I think this is where I commit to a King of Fighters and learn how to play it. But saying that, like, it plays well, like it is those games. There's a huge amount of legacy skill in this game where if you were good previous King of Fighters games, you're gonna mop people up in this. And that's good. Like, it's good that they haven't, like, when King of Fighters 14 was announced, people really thought they were going to oversimplify the gameplay, and everything was still there. You know, top players were coming back from, like, trying the game out and being like, yeah, it's King of Fighters. I know it looks slower. It's not. Like, you can frame by frame these moves, and it does play well, and it is satisfying, and it does have that, like, ultra crunchy King of Fighters sound design. But the thing I really love about this game is that this has, like, the personality of King of Fighters in a way I really love. If you ever look at a lot of the illustrations of, I think Falcon is his name. He's, like, the main SNK King of Fighters art guy.
The guy who does the highly rendered stuff?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. The one that has Geese and the lads sitting in the chair.
Okay, this is the thing with Falcon's art, right? He barely ever draws the characters, like, fighting. Pretty much never.
They're just chilling out.
He draws them
They're
all
on the beach,
chilling out in between matches, and it creates just this, like, world and a vibe to King of Fighters, you know? And what I love is that, like, you really get that sense from this game. So much of, like, these characters' histories and relationships are brought in it. Like, sometimes it's a 3-on-3 fighter, and, you know, sometimes you'll be making your way through the other person's team, and the next thing, two of your characters will just have a cutscene right in the middle, right at the start of a fight, and they'll reference shit from, like, 4 games ago that only King of Fighters lunatics would know. That not even I know.
That's cool.
It's really cool. So some of them would be like, you know, I'm playing a lot of Shermie, who's this really weird, cool grapple girl. There's 3 grapple girls in this game. 3 fucking... Do you know how rare it is for me to find one grapple girl? There's 3 here. But, like, I'm playing as her, and then one of the other characters was like, oh, it's Miss Heavenly King. And she's like, oh, don't call me that anymore. And it's like, oh, I feel like they're a world.
I really like that. It reminds me of Tekken Tag, where if you pair, depending on what characters you picked, the little cutscene they would show before the match, maybe they would have an animation together. Like Warang and Bake would do, like, their training together kind of stuff, and then some characters had nothing.
Heihachi would spank Lee.
Yeah, like that kind of stuff.
But, like, okay, that stuff to me, that is what makes fighting games, because I love to believe that a fighting game is this weird fucking excuse that all these weirdos from all over the world have all come to this one location, and it's like, yeah, there's gonna be lots of cool fights and stuff, but I bet, like, them hanging out is really interesting. And I love any game that explores that. And I think Tekken does a really good job of exploring that, like, depending on the game. But King of Fighters has always been so into that. And, like, so many of these characters, you know, some of them have relationships. Some of them, like, used to be together. Some of them have just gotten together. And it's like, some of them still fucking hate each other. And some of them are just friends. And it's cool, you know? It's really, really nice to experience that stuff. And even if, like, you aren't up to date with what I am assuming is the fucking insane lore of King of Fighters, you get a sense for that world, and you get a sense that, like, there's all these people in it, and they all have their weird specific connections, and it makes the game kind of a joy, and it makes it King of Fighters for me, you know. And I don't know that I'm ever going to be good at King of Fighters, but I'm really looking forward to trying, and it's just been great. It makes me feel good about fighting games.
Are there any weird SNK characters that aren't from King of Fighters in the roster, or is it just King of Fighters?
So there's DLC characters coming, and one of the DLCs is Team Garo Mark of the Wolves.
Okay.
So there's 3 of those characters coming in.
I want Athena.
Athena's already in there.
Is she?
Yeah. Athena is the leader of Team Girl Hero.
She's an idol.
Yep.
How about the army girl, Leona?
Yep, she's in there as well.
She's doing, like, karate chop hands?
Yeah,
okay.
She's got her blade hands. She's teaming. I think Ralph is... She's in Team Akari Warriors.
Okay. I've not followed anything. So, like, okay, how good does Terry look?
Much better than he did last time. They got rid of the leathers. They got rid of the suede. He just looks like Terry.
Okay.
And he just asks, "Are you okay, Buster Wolf?" And what more do you need? Geese is alive again. That's fun. A 5th time. Just no killing that dude.
Has he just been, like, kicked out of, like, multiple buildings at this point, or what?
Yes.
Fuck.
Yeah. But he's DLC as well. But, like, it's interesting as well, because I am, like, learning a bit more about Team of Fighters, and, like, it's composition based. So you have 3 characters, they go up against 3 characters, but there's no tagging in and out. It's just round by round. But, like, the way you want to do it is some characters, like, they don't have a lot of combos and they rely on, like, big, huge finishing moves to do their damage. So you put them last in your team and you try and front load your team with characters who are going to get a lot of hits and build a lot of meter. And so then you can have these wild swings at the end of a match because, like, oh, this is the character who has these really great finishing moves and that can let you chew through a team and make really dramatic comebacks. And it's like a kind of natural comeback mechanic as opposed to kind of the more, what would you call it? Artificial ones in fighting games now. I don't know, but I'm having a really good time with it. Like, there's criticisms of it. It's King of Fighters, and that's awesome to see. New characters are really cool. One's just a black Bayonetta, and one's a girl with spray cans.
Whoa.
Yeah. Niamh.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us about Crimson Shroud?
What is Crimson Shroud?
So when the 3DS store stuff happened, which we'll talk about in a bit, there was lists of like digital only 3DS games that went around.
Oh, yes, this game.
And Crimson Shroud popped up, and it is a game designed by Yasumi Matsuno, who worked, and this is the game he worked on directly after Final Fantasy XII. He also did Vagrant Story and Final Fantasy Tactics. So it has that style to it. And once I saw the character art, I was just like, well, this is a NieR game. This is a NieR JRPG. I gotta download it. This came to the eShop in North America and Europe as a digital-only title, but it was actually... It's produced by Level 5 as part of a compilation series called Guild 01, where...
Oh, they had Liberation Maiden and Attack of the Friday Monsters as well. Yes.
So they kind of bundled 4 games. They worked with 4 different developers and made 4 different games, and this is his game. And it kind of reminds me a bit of Voice of Cards, because where Voice of Cards kind of mimics the idea of a card game on a table, this mimics the idea of a tabletop game of like D&D where you're using miniatures. So I guess the vibe of these games, these short compilation games, is they were kind of making them cheap. So there's no animation to these characters. They're frozen in a single pose and they're affixed to a base, like a little miniature. And the movement is all done with camera angles. And the idea is that you're just moving through the world with these little pieces. And they fight little goblins. And what makes this battle system kind of interesting is there's no leveling up. All your stats are assigned to weapons, but how you get your weapons is after each turn-based battle, you are given points based on how well you did, and you get to buy your loot with the points. So it means maybe there's no item shops and there's no NPCs, so if you need potions, you might have to prioritize buying potions rather than armor. And you kind of have to pick what items you want after a battle using your points. There's also the kind of part of this that makes it D&D is there is random dice rolls, and this is done on the 3DS with your little stylus. You shake your dice and you throw them, and they can really mess you up. And you're not rolling just for yourself, you're also rolling for the enemies. So there was one moment where one of my characters was like, there's goblins over there, shall we try and avoid them? And I was just like, yeah, I'll avoid them. So I had to roll to avoid them, and I messed up my roll, so I didn't avoid them. Then I had to roll for the goblins for the pleasure of how many free hits they got on me. And I rolled a 7, so they had 7 free turns against me, and I was just like, fuck. Like,
they're gonna wail on you.
Yeah, like it really, like, the rolls can mess you up, and you're rolling for everything. So it has that little D&D aspect along with the kind of miniature pieces that kind of makes it really cute. Another part of the battle system that kind of makes it more interesting from a JRPG standpoint is you don't have any MP, and you build MP after each turn. So your mage has some abilities that will help her gain MP, but after each turn you gain a little bit and you can bank it after each battle. So you can kind of grind to bank MP for a boss, but also if you move too much around the map, your MP will also deplete. So it's kind of this bit of a push and pull with trying to store that, but also you don't want to stay around the area too much. It is a short little game. It's around 7 hours. There's no character that moves to move around the map. You are given a down facing map and you select an area, and the characters will kind of port to that area into a little kind of cutscene. The downside to it is the story's like a bit generic. you have a character who you're experiencing it through his perspective. He's kind of just a douche. Like, he's not likable at all. There's a female character in it called Freya, and anything she says, he just negs her in his head or vocally, and you're privy to his thoughts, so you just have to hear him just be a dick to her.
Cool. What's his problem?
He's just a fucking anime boy. Like, she's like they get some treasure that you have to roll to decide if you want to open it or not. And she's just like, kind of feels like stealing. And he's just like, in his head, he's just like, it's not stealing, you stupid bitch. Like, it's just like, flat out just like hates her. Everything he says is just mean to her.
Because of what happened.
Because, I don't know, it's like, we haven't gotten anywhere with, like, we've got some flashback stuff where she's injured and we're flashing back to here, and it's pretty generic. The characters are giving me nothing. The other male character in it is called Lippy, and he's missing an eye, but with his new magic eye, he can kind of sense danger, so that will give you, like, rolls to maybe get the upper hand in a battle. So that's the downside to it, is narratively and character-wise, positive. Battle system's fun, and the aesthetic is quite unusual, like the way it's presented like a tabletop game. And because it's this developer and this director, the art style is lovely. Like, it's that really, like, it has a vagrant story look to these models, and they look really nice. And they look nice on the 3DS.
They could do polygons pretty well on the 3DS if they wanted to.
Yeah, they get a lot of expression into those characters. Well, a lot of, like, detail into those characters using textures. And it's kind of like what they did with PS1 with Vagrant Story, where it's one of those games that still kind of holds up compared to a lot of PS1 games that look pretty bad.
Yeah.
Vagrant Story always holds up because the textures were just beautiful. And same with Final Fantasy XII, the range of character detail they got into those characters worked because of the texturing. So it's been an interesting, like I guess, history lessons for a JRPG experience with it, and I'm enjoying it from that perspective. I didn't know this game existed like a week ago, and now I'm like, this is cool. This is a nice thing to see what he did after Final Fantasy XII.
That's rad. I think the idea of such a short JRPG is really interesting.
Yeah, that's also really nice.
The other games in that series are very interesting. I have Liberation Maiden and Attack of the Friday Monsters. I can't remember the other one. I think the other one was like a management sim or maybe like a transport sim game from what I remember.
I've wanted to give Attack of the Friday Monsters a shot for so long.
So that's the one. So that one's definitely made by Level 5, and that's a childhood summer game.
And there's a bunch of those games, isn't there?
Yeah. But then Liberation Maiden, I think it's made by
Suda51.
Had some involvement in it.
Yeah.
And in that, you're an anime girl piloting a mech. You're also the president of America.
Of course.
It's pretty good.
I think this is a cool idea, just the idea that...
Yeah, the Guild one.
Yeah, that you would get like different developers to make short games in their style and just bundle them together.
It's a cool collab.
It's a physical release in Japan. I actually bought a copy of it because I got it for €2, and I was just like, you can't go wrong with that.
You can't.
They did Guild 2, but it never got any physical release. But yeah, interesting experience. I've been playing the 3DS a lot because I hacked it last time we spoke. I hacked it, and now I feel justified.
It's interesting timing, that's for sure.
Yep.
That is for sure. Quicktime Events.
One of the big bits of news is these 2 weeks is Nintendo is closing the 3DS and Wii U eShops in March 2023, so in 12 months' time. They have no plans to offer their classic content in other ways. That's a quote from them. So the eShops on those consoles are a mixture of contemporary games for their time, I guess, and the Virtual Console. Mm-hmm. The Virtual Console has me really, really bummed out because the 3DS in particular had Game Boy Color games, as well as Game Gear games. The Wii U had Game Boy Advance. Those games don't have an alternative option at the moment unless you want to go to piracy. So they're kind of just once again shooting themselves in the foot.
So go to piracy, that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Bryan!
So there's this one game on the 3DS eShop called Trip World, and it's fucking brilliant. It's made by Sunsoft. I love this game. It costs €3 to buy. That's a little chunk of money there. That's fine. This cartridge costs €300 on eBay. Like, those are two different options, so it needs a better alternative.
I'm really glad I got into Shin Megami Tensei like a few months ago.
Just in case.
Yeah, because so many of these games are on the 3DS. And like if I got into this, like, I don't know, 13 months, not even 13 months, a few months down the line, I wouldn't be able to buy those games digitally because a lot of those games, their prices are spiked, and 3DS games, their prices are spiked anyway, and now they're going to get worse. So like you don't really have a lot of options, which just sucks. I think like the Wii U wasn't a huge seller, you know, but the 3DS is like one of the most popular handhelds ever made.
Yeah, it started off real bad and it completely turned itself around and made its money back.
So the details of this is like from May this year, you won't be able to put in your credit card details.
Yeah.
To buy games. And then from August this year, you won't be able to use prepaid cards. So honestly, August is kind of the real cutoff point for buying digital titles. And then it's March next year that you will no longer be able to buy anything at all.
Yeah.
Right. Wow.
And then there's this uncertainty because all the patches, and like there are some very specific game patches, but you have to get them through the eShop. Mario Kart 7 has a really good patch. There's one for like Smash for 3DS. The OK Watch games, pretty much all of them have patches. People aren't sure what's going to happen to those after the eShop closes down. I know the Xenoblade Chronicles X on Wii U has a 10 gigabyte patch that fixes the game because like that game without that patch is unplayable apparently.
Oh, whoa, that's weird. I don't like that.
And so I own a physical copy of Xenoblade Chronicles X. I've never played it, but now I need to put it into my Wii U, patch it in anticipation of playing it later this decade, even though I don't want to now. But it's just weird, like, cautionary preemptiveness
totally.
where
It's
you're
weird.
like, for fuck's sake, I have this weird, like, stupid time limit in which I need to remember to do this thing that I'm not really motivated to do because video games are stupid.
Well, yeah, it's like, as I said with Shin Megami Tensei, like, I'm now into this, so now I'm like kind of looking at physical games and being
you're
like,
really committed to it now.
And then like I need to like I won't be able to play these again or get these again.
Yeah, it's got this like ticking clock.
Yeah, and it just like it just really sucks. It really sucks that they're making these games inaccessible. I said last episode I hacked my 3DS console. I think people should do that, and even if they want to do it in the future, they don't want to do it now. Download Pokemon Picross. That's your way to do it. You can do it without that, but every guide that exists recommends doing it through Pokemon Picross. So maybe just have that on your 3DS for the future in case you want to. And it might, like, maybe you never ever want to use ROMs. That's fine. It will at least open up your console to other region games that you might be able to get them at better prices.
Let's Fight a Boss video game podcast. Do crimes.
To play video games.
Yep.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm generally put off by playing any video game that doesn't require a crime at this point.
John, how about you read out this
Okay,
third one?
which one of you wrote this headline?
Me.
Okay.
But it's so appropriate now. I wrote this a week ago.
Capcom have announced a bunch of fighting games. Some are old, some are new. Either way, John has to poo.
Is that true?
Currently not, no.
In the morning.
Yeah.
Once, 7 a.m. every morning.
I'm going to message you tomorrow at 7 a.m. and go, John, are you pooing?
It's a really high chance I will be. Okay, so two pieces of news here. First of all, they basically, I can't remember the name of this bundle, but a giant bundle with just all the fucking...
Capcom 35th Anniversary Fighting Collection.
Yeah, we're getting Red Earth. Niamh, we can play Red Earth?
I don't know what that is, but there was a few games with vampire in the title, and they looked very good.
Yeah, we're
Darkstalkers.
We are getting 5 Darkstalkers games because this is like 10 games, but 50% of it is Darkstalkers.
Yeah, and it's like Darkstalkers, Vampire Savior, and then there's Vampire Savior, the Darkstalkers, and shit like that.
There's one Street Fighter game in there, but it's because there's already a Street Fighter Anniversary Collection that came out recently.
So that Street Fighter game is actually pretty cool. It's Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fighting, which is...
Is that the last version of Street Fighter 2?
It's all the versions of every character. So there's 5 versions of Street Fighter 2, and all the characters in those versions are all kind of distinctive and have like specific attributes. So if you want to be like just a fucking monster and play as base Street Fighter 2 Guile, you can, and just ruin everyone's time. But I'm really excited about this because there's so many of these games that like have never been really that available, and like I can't wait to give Darkstalkers a proper go. I can't wait to play Red Earth, and it's a really cool collection.
Yeah, it looks gorgeous. Like, it just reminded me of being like early internet and saving every GIF I could find of these characters. I think like these are the designs and the color theory that made me want to draw, you know?
Wow.
I just love the proportions on everything.
They totally remind me, like, you can clearly see that this was the same kind of era creating those ultra great, like, X-Men fighting game sprites. And, oh yeah, it's deadly.
Yeah.
And also Street Fighter 6 was announced.
Yeah, how'd you feel about that? How'd you feel about your wide boy?
I've seen a lot of kind of people be like, I guess like I've seen a lot of like really pedantic little Street Fighter fans, and it's like just getting upset about every little thing in this trailer. And I am one of those fans.
It's not very good.
I hated this. Okay, no, look, I didn't hate this. This is a teaser. It doesn't actually matter. This does not matter, okay? The worst thing about this teaser is the logo. The logo is fucking horrifying.
And the logo is just a stock template. Like, people found the original logo.
Yeah, I saw all that stuff. But I hate that it's a stock template. I also equally hate the little spray paint motif with the 6 in the negative space. Like,
yeah.
It's so tiny. It's like they were like, oh shit, we do have to get that in there.
It's so tiny, but it's like, is it the 2010s? Are we spray painting logos again? Like, I don't...
The design really reminded me of Drive Club. I was like, this is so sterile.
Yeah, it reeks of design by committee, or like YouTube influencer who has to do like 4 clothing lines a year, and they just slap a bunch of stuff together on a t-shirt.
Bryan, I have a lot of video to make, okay? And sometimes there's just not time.
John, your merch is good.
I don't have merch.
You do, you got those t-shirts.
Oh, those, you can't get them anymore, Bryan. They're long gone.
Fuck.
Yeah. But we'll see.
So they're clearly using the RE engine for this.
I guess so.
Because like they were doing a way more realistic look for Ryu, which is kind of because he's super wide. He looks like
he does look
Kylo
like
Ren wide.
He looks a bit like they got Nemesis or whatever and tweaked him.
But like his face, I don't know. He doesn't look like himself.
He's not happy.
One of my biggest problems with Street Fighter V is I just constantly felt like people who are making Street Fighter V did not understand the appeal of Street Fighter. This trailer does not alleviate those worries one single bit. And like, fucking Luke. Like, I know that they said, oh, he's going to be a big part of it. But like, what I love about fighting games is the idea of a bunch of weirdos coming from all over the planet gathering in one place. I think there's something kind of beautiful about that. Street Fighter 2 was Street Fighter 2 The World Warriors. You know, it's like, it was like a weird, kind of corny, but still celebration of different cultures and like, you know, different kinds of people, even like different ethnicities and stuff, you know? And for Street Fighter 6, the showcase is a blonde American dude. And it's like, okay, we had Ken. Ken gets a pass because he's fucking Ken Masters. That's okay. Street Fighter 3, the whole story of that game was that the new main character is Alex, a blonde American dude, and Ryu was now the aspirational character for that guy. Okay, I mean, that's Alex is cool. I like Alex. He's a weird long distance wrestler, grappler, fighting, and it's super. I love playing as Alex. It's so weird. Now we have Luke, who's
from the Team 10 house.
Yeah, he has so many followers on TikTok. He's in trouble because he defended Joe Rogan on Twitter recently. But like, who's this fucking guy? And I know who he is. Like, I get what Luke is, but it's like, is anyone excited about fucking Luke? You know? And then like he does this weird veiny arm flex. And I can tell you that doesn't happen. Your arms don't do that.
The body is a mystery.
I really struggle to find anything to get excited about here. This just makes me feel like, oh, I guess the people who made Street Fighter V are making another game, and I know Ono isn't involved in this one. I kind of like have neutral feelings about that. I don't really mind too much either way. I think like Street Fighter does need a new direction. You know, I like, as much as I thought, like, I am way less into King of Fighters than I am Street Fighter, but like I could sense that love of King of Fighters from 15. I want a game that has that same love for Street Fighter, and I don't think they're going to do it. I think they're going to have the same goofy tone that 4 did, which to me just says, like, we have no idea what we're doing with these world characters, so here's E Honda eating a burger, and, like, there's just nothing, you know? And I looked at this trailer, and I just had that feeling where it's like, I don't know that this franchise is for me anymore. And that hurts so much because I don't know that there's a franchise I love more than Street Fighter. But maybe none of this matters, and maybe the actual trailer drops in summer and I get to be delightfully wrong about all this, in which case I will be delighted to be. But yeah, this was just nothing. And I think Street Fighter is in a really weird spot and it has a lot to prove, you know? I think it's cool. They modeled Ryu's dick. That's fun.
I liked his toes. They were very detailed.
Yeah. Street Fighter 6, everybody.
Niamh, there's another announcement here for a very special game, just for Niamh.
Oh yeah, Soul Hackers 2.
Atlus. Keep making games.
Yeah, they announced Soul Hackers 2. I've recently downloaded Soul Hackers, and I was looking forward to playing it.
That game's like a tenner as well.
Yeah, that's why I got it. And I was just like, so Soul Hackers originally was a Sega Saturn game, but only came out in Japan, and then got a bit of a remake for 3DS. And that was like, what, I don't know, like 15 years ago? 20? I don't know. And this is going to be a second one. And it looked cool. I loved the trailer. Really cool. I was just like, I like that these characters aren't in school. This is great.
Yeah, they're adult.
Oh, thank God.
What's cool as well about this is it's an Atlus Shin Megami Tensei spin-off, but it's getting a worldwide release.
Yeah, it's getting worldwide release on everything except the Switch, which is a little sad.
Yeah. That's weird.
Yeah. I would presume that will be a Switch tax thing where in like 2 years' time there'll be a definitive edition and it'll be released for the Switch.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
But yeah, I saw this trailer, thought it looked cool, and I was just like, I'm in. I like this series now.
Cool. Good stuff.
There are some video game movies in development, or are they?
I think so, because I think they're like Paramount and Netflix, maybe.
I know Netflix is doing the Bioshock movie.
Yeah.
Then there's a Life is Strange movie and a Disco Elysium movie. Now, 2 out of 3 of these are games focused very much on multiple choice and...
Kind of all 3 of them.
Yeah, the choices in Bioshock.
They're not great.
Do you want to murder the children or not murder? Yeah.
But at the time, it was a big deal, it's a very gameplay like driving deal as well. So it's kind of like, but yeah, definitely Life is Strange and Disco Elysium. I have not played the Ultimate Lad game, but from
Niamh, fuck you! Oh my god! Oh
no, I played this game.
I'm only joking. But from my understanding of Disco Elysium is that you kind of get to role play different like ideologies, or at least like go with different ideologies.
Like I could see there is some stuff in it because like there is some great characters in Disco Elysium and the setting is really unique. Like it's really weird and strange.
But the protagonist is not up to you at all.
Yeah, with a character so malleable, if this goes one specific direction, wouldn't that be really weird?
I think like the only common thing I could see about the character is he's always a train wreck. I don't think you can play someone competent, so there's ways they could take that. I mean, I don't know. Like to me, Disco Elysium, what's fantastic about that is the parts of it that are a video game. I don't really have strong feelings about them making a movie out of it. Like
it's a weird choice and one that I didn't think the developers would go with.
Yeah.
So do you think? Okay. Probably out of these 3, Bioshock has the most chance of being made.
I would say yeah, but I also feel like I've been hearing about that in some capacity for like a decade.
No, same with the Uncharted movie.
Yeah.
And that came out.
And now like different like streaming services are so desperate for content that they're trying to adopt everything.
It is kind of a different landscape, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With Life is Strange, like that will need some major rewrites for it to kind of work today. But like generally,
or just be like good.
Okay.
Now we're even, Niamh. Now we're even.
Enough. But generally, I think it could be like a nice series for like an older teen audience. Like, look at Euphoria, make it like that, make it extra fucked.
Euphoria season 2 is the most fucked up thing I've ever seen. I watch it every weekend. I turn to Rebecca and I'm like, I don't think we should be watching this. It's really scary. Those teenagers will fucking bite you.
I understand how you feel. I'm watching Yellow Jackets and it's kind of the most stressful time
my
of
God.
my life. It's like the best thing that's happening to anyone is like two people cheating. And I was like, this is terrible. It's a very good show, but terrible.
It's very good. I finished it the other day and like they have not explained anything in season 1.
Great.
But they are kind of building a gap between how they get to the fucking Lord of the Flies. Mm-hmm. Those fucking teenagers.
Those teens. It's like the Wilds, but like worse. They don't have fun at all.
It's just full on paganism.
Yeah, what are we talking about? Video
NieR
games.
Automata.
Oh yeah. Keeping with this, and kind of like this movie kind of news, NieR Automata 5-year anniversary, they announced like an anime. I don't think that needs an anime. So much of that makes that game special is it being a video game. Like, that's the point of it.
There's so many fan animations as well that sort of tick all the boxes you'd want out of seeing, 2B doing the swords.
Yeah, like, there's definitely, like, cool GIFs and fan animations where it's, like, all flash. But, like, if you're going to develop this into, a narrative-based anime, it's, like, who's that for?
Any word on what studio or anything?
The rumor, and it's only a rumor, is A1, which makes me not want this at all.
Do you know, it's a shame. I was watching a show. I'm watching a show at the moment called Birdie the Mighty that A1 did in the late noughties, and it's awesome. And it's like, oh, A1 used to animate really good action. What happened?
Maybe they'll do it for NieR. But
no,
again,
those days are gone and those people are dead.
Do you think they'll have like loads of wide shots of just two characters sitting on rubble looking out at a grand vista?
I think it could be that for 40 minutes and it could be kind of good.
Just some piano.
It's just like so much of that is the graphical style of it as well. I don't know. This is kind of like the Shenmue anime. It's like, is it for people who already care about this, or is it an entry point for people who don't care? I don't know. Because who will watch it?
I haven't watched a second episode of the Shenmue anime, and I'm like 20% sure I didn't watch the first.
It's so weird to see like these commission fan animations that are
That's
like
what they are.
They're like official merchandise, and they're just.
Why does Shenmue have an anime? I don't understand.
It could have a video game, but it doesn't.
I know. The only thing I could see is this, like, maybe there's stuff with A2 that they could flesh out. Like, there's some terminals where you can kind of read her backstory. Maybe they could, like, flesh that out with, like, some flashback stuff, and maybe that would justify its existence because something you haven't seen on screen would now exist on screen. But even then, I'm kind of like, I liked that story was this hidden thing.
I want a whole episode called Adam and Eve Go to the Mall.
If they did that, there is a mall, you know?
Yeah, there is a mall.
Yeah.
And they find like the one shop that actually, like the plants didn't ruin it, and you know,
Eve gets a jacket.
Yeah. Or they could have like those sad little rusty robots, just a bunch of episodes about them.
What about if it's just like a 50-minute OVA of just those two robots fucking?
That'd be great.
You know the ones.
I want one where this would be such a good idea. There's no dialogue at all the entire episode, and it's just the wildlife. It's just boars and squirrels and stuff. Just chilling.
That'd be cool.
It's going to be 2B with the swords. I'm like, it'll look great, and then it won't. And then it'll look great, and then it won't. Because that's how anime is.
Yeah. So it's cool that it's the 5-year anniversary. I can't believe it's been 5 years since that game. That's like, time has been moving very quickly and extremely slowly. But I love that game a lot, and I am not interested in this at all.
That was Persona 5 and Yakuza 0 as well. Holy shit, what a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, emails.
We have an email address, It doesn't matter. No, it does. It's asklet'sfightaboss@gmail.com. I have some emails highlighted, and I'm going to sound like I'm sarcastic, but I actually am. I was mean. The meanness worked. We got some great emails. Thank you very much, everyone.
That sounded sincere.
Yeah, that was sincere.
Yeah? Okay. I've noticed a trend, and I love it, where it is, because there's three of us, and we all know each other super well, the gimmick of we can't answer on our behalf.
Oh, I really enjoyed that last time
is
around.
So fucking fun. And so I have one from Adrian, and it is a what if for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Fighters Pass Season 3. Adrian says, Sakurai has invited you all as DLC characters for the Fighters Pass 3. What are your special moves, stages, stage soundtracks, trailer taglines? The other two hosts must decide on your behalf. Okay, so let's just do the special moves first. Okay, Niamh.
I don't know anything about Smash, Bryan, so what's the special move?
Okay, his down B is his poo. Okay.
For fuck's sake.
Okay, his up and B is his piss, but it propels him high.
Oh my god. No,
His neutral B is porridge. His side B is special peanut butter.
This is just my morning. This isn't me.
Yeah.
Bryan, there's a whole spectrum to me, sir.
I think one of them has to be a yoga pose
Oh yeah.
that becomes a move of some capacity. I think his bike needs to be involved in at
That's
least
true.
one.
Today I did unlock my bike and then took it to a slightly better position and locked it at that location.
Nice.
But it was like 2 feet.
Hey, more
Gotta
sheltered.
stay optimum.
What are the other things?
What's his stage? His stage is just
His bedroom where he works from.
yeah, and like no, okay,
That place is so
Never
sad.
escape.
and like most of the stage is occupied by that giant bed.
Yeah, the bed he can't get rid
Oh, I
of.
hate it.
But there's also a really nice desk in there.
Yeah, and a new chair.
And a new computer, question mark? Yes?
Yeah,
Yeah.
What?
Did you get a new computer? Did that
Like
happen?
last year?
yeah.
Yeah.
Niamh, I made a whole video about it.
Yeah, but
Did you?
Yeah,
I know,
did you
but did
get a
you?
new
Did you get a new
one?
computer?
What? No, I didn't get a new one on top of the new one I got.
okay, you just fixed that one.
No, I didn't fix the Dell one. I sent the Dell one, but look, there is a literal fucking 40-minute documentation. If you want,
I don't remember how it ended. I just
but
remember
that's fine. But you can just go. We're wasting time with the
I
conversation.
did a voice in that. We did voices.
Yeah.
Okay, and then his music for the same stage is like
Oh, definitely like sewer sluts style.
just some sewer slot kind of like
Yeah.
but
Now we're
like
talking.
but like the music is played through one channel and it's from like recorded from a speaker of 3 feet away, so it's like like that kind of music. And then your tagline is John has woken up.
What about John has woken?
Okay, John has woken. And you're pissed.
He has to go through his routine. And he may find you.
Okay.
Niamh. Okay.
John, how about we do Niamh?
Yeah.
Okay. What's Niamh's down B? The boots?
I think the boots. Yeah, just
Yeah.
a kind of stomping attack.
Just a full-on
Yeah.
stomp.
Yeah.
Okay. The up and B is that she produces a hoodie, puts it on, but it's kind of it's like she raises her arms, but it's also like a weird glider.
Yeah.
I love gliders.
Yeah, putting your glider is like a hoodie that's kind of like billowing onto you, and then you put it on, and that's where your glider kind of retracts in.
Neutral B is hair change,
Yep.
and that affects her side B, which is her projectile.
Yeah. And so depending on what's bothering her and who she's fighting on the internet, the range of it is better or worse. Depends on your mood.
Yeah.
She should have like a tweet mechanic where like the more she tweets, the
I
angrier
don't
she
tweet
gets.
anymore. I just read them and get angry, and then I write a tweet, and then I go,
Internalize.
you know what? No, fuck this.
I'll
And
give
I
that.
don't
I will
tweet.
give that like a week. You have an angry tweet
John,
mechanic.
I have a private account where
Oh, that'd be so cool if it was like private mode.
Yep.
yeah.
And it's just like, fuck you.
Yeah, there's mean Niamh, there's horny Niamh, and there's business Niamh.
Those are
Okay,
three
forget
really
the-
good
for-
stances.
forget the-
so like,
forget the
kinda
hair
like
change
different
shit.
modes or moods.
That-
like
that's
yeah,
what
like,
we're going
yeah,
for.
Yeah. That's so good.
That's really good.
'Cause,
Stage select.
Stage select.
I think maybe like no.
Just be like a tree. Bunch of birds.
I did used to hide in a tree, so I didn't have to go to school.
I think it'd be cool if it was like just like a really horizontal tree with like wide branches, and it's one of those stages that you can just fall to your death because the tree's up really high.
I think it would be really fun if it was like there's this pirate character in Garo Mark of the Wolves, and she just goes around with her like ship crew who are just all dudes who love her. And I think it'd be cool if Niamh had that, but they were just all ladies.
Great, or dogs.
I was gonna say dogs.
The music sounds like fake Kate Bush. Fake.
So this is probably exactly
fake,
what you're
like
saying, but
Caroline
like just
Polachek.
a woman kind of wailing on a guitar.
Yeah.
And when I say wailing, I mean her voice is wailing and this guitar is sad.
Yeah, and so like they hired out a contractor, but they were like, you just make it sound like slightly different tempo to this song that already exists, and they were like, yeah, we got you.
Perfect.
The trailer tagline. Niamh wants to talk. Or Niamh has replied.
Brian.
Brian's down B. Biscuit is involved. He
think-
produces a small little
I
hedgehog.
think takes him out of his pocket and just kind of rolls him towards
Yeah,
it. And if
and
you
it
get
does
hit,
damage.
max damage.
Yeah.
I think during the entire fight, Brian should be purchasing retro video games, and it takes time. You have to like hold B and he'll like go on the internet and like kind of be like, a deal! And the more you do that, the more powerful he gets.
Builds up that savings meter.
Yep. I think his up B.
I think he flips his hat around, maybe.
Yeah,
Or he'll kick his croc at you.
he does wear Crocs a lot. Brian, I've been thinking about Crocs.
Oh, Jesus.
I know.
Okay,
but there's
so-
no perfect footwear when I get out of the shower.
So a month ago, I made John try my Crocs. He was like, "These aren't that good." But now
They're not good, but
Just dry your feet on a towel.
My feet are very hairy. I keep fucking up slippers.
John's hairy feet.
I have weird wolf legs. I don't know what to tell you.
Just dry him off. Put on a sock.
The great thing about Crocs is they don't get smelly.
Really?
Debatable.
I had one pair of Crocs and she just smelled the same the whole time.
Brian's super in this will be called Fat Boy Friday.
All the food.
Yeah, all the food.
And he gets a brand new game.
Yeah. So he also gets a bonus to his online gaming, which totally. What would his stage be?
Oh, part of me wants it to be cozy, but then the other part of me wants it to be nautical themed.
It could be out on sea. It could be like a. Well, I'm not supposed to suggest, but you know.
Yeah, maybe a cozy little ship deck, but there is some like sea motif. But he's also like wearing a life jacket at all times.
Yeah.
Can there be a hammock?
There can
Absolutely
be, yeah. Okay, no.
Definitely not. And music, it's the Kirby theme slowed down by 5%. It's nearly identical.
So it's just like fucking green greens or whatever.
Yep.
And what's my tagline?
I don't know.
I think Brian's got a good deal.
Brian's here to play. I don't know.
Brian won that bid.
It's Brian time.
It's Brian time. There we go.
Thank you.
That was hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, like.
I don't know what Smash Bros is.
See, for me, I couldn't think of anything to John, so I just had to go like, well, what does John do? And I just
What did John say literally an
like,
hour ago?
yeah, an hour ago.
That's the thing with questions like these sometimes. When you have to like
just think on the
surmise
spot.
someone's entire being, you're just
Yeah.
like,
It's okay. My whole personality is boots, like all the time on
Yeah.
this podcast. I'm wearing runners most of the time. Gotta say.
I do like the hoodie move though, and also
like the
the hair with stances or modes would be fun. Adrian, that was a great question.
Thank you for the question, Adrian.
Okay, do you guys want to do one more?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we have any like questions?
Okay, I got one here. This is from Josh, and the subject, and this is real fucking clever, Josh, you fucking caught me. It says, Brian, open this one. So I opened up the email, and it said, from Josh, from Arizona. Josh from Arizona says, what's the most regrettable video game purchase you've made? Bonus points if it's a collector's edition with a shitty little figure.
Street Fighter Cross Tekken Collection Edition.
Oh, the cardboard arcade.
Cardboard arcade, the free gems. To this day, I'm still not quite sure what they did. That just wasn't a very good game, and it was really disappointing. And it's really depressing to have like, you're like, well, I guess it's a collector's item, so you have this little cardboard arcade on your desk for ages, and every time you look at it, it makes you sad because Street Fighter Cross Tekken wasn't good. So maybe that. Splatoon 2, I bought for like 70 quid, and then I was like, oh, that's right, I'm not that into Splatoon.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Splatoon 3 might win you around, John.
No.
I have one sad story. Don't think I've ever told this one. Wind Waker HD, I got the collector's edition on the Wii U. Came with a figure of Ganondorf in the boss fight at the very end of the game with the two swords. Such a cool looking figure. I opened it up out of the box. The figure is broken.
Oh no.
I still have it. It's down my family home, and I look at it and I'm pissed.
Where was it broken? Is it something fixable?
No. The case was cracked. It's a big hairline fracture. Oh. And then the paint job is not good.
Yeah, I've heard people complain about that figure because remember I saw it and I was like, "That's awesome."
It's rubber, like it's not a good figure.
Yeah, okay.
The worst figure I've ever seen in anything is like the Bravely Default special edition. There's like a figure of the main female character in it, and it is just so bad. And I love watching unboxings from people who are given them.
Leave that. There's something so sinister about that.
Because then they have to
that
lie.
Disappointment. Oh wow.
And like they're lying so hard, and it's just so like her eyes are like off her face, and like the painting's so awful, and they're like, yeah, and this beautiful figure. And I'm like, you're just lying.
I really miss videos from YouTubers that had to do like monthly unboxing videos of Loot Crate when they were at their peak, and pretending to be like excited about like a Walking Dead keychain that had like Negan, or not Negan, the Governors. Was that one of the previous villains?
Probably.
Just like shit like that from like 2 seasons ago that was in a warehouse collecting dust. Oh wow, cool.
There's a video from Jeff Bakalar that he did with CNET where I think they just asked him to do an unboxing of a phone. And like if you've followed Giant Bomb Jeff Bakalar, like he's not really going to get excited about that kind of thing. And the entire unboxing is him being like, it's got a charging cable in case you need another one of those. And it's like, and like it was funny because like I think he got like killed in the comments because everyone was like, what's wrong with this guy? But then he talked about it on the Beastcast, and a lot of Giant Bomb people were like came on and were like, oh, this Jeff Bakalar guy is pretty good. So yeah, that's pretty fun.
The worst game I got, my biggest game regret is I was in college. I didn't have a lot of money. I was having a bad time. I remember specifically it was raining, and I traveled into town from where I was in college, and I spent my hard-earned €60 on 2 Human on the Xbox 360. And I brought it home and I played it for like 2 hours, and I was so fucking angry because it sucks so hard. I was just livid. I've never been so angry before. I was just like, oh my fucking god. Like I'd never played anything so immediately shitty. Like something that you couldn't just be like, oh, I'll just like maybe it'll get better. Like it just fucking sucked. And like I don't know, you can't return it. I had to trade it in for less money. It sucked. It
wasn't really a purchase. It was, but like I was okay with Shenmue 3 for a couple of hours. But when it started to click, that was devastating. And like it was kind of a financial thing, but it was more just a everything thing. And I remember like I was playing it with my cousin Bryan, and at one point I turned to them and I was like, I think this is bad.
Did you guys ever play Max Payne 3?
No.
Don't.
Oh no.
Okay. Actually, cousin Bryan, that's an interesting point. I went through our email history because I was like, we got a load of great emails. Thank you very much, everyone. But then I was like, okay, so our podcast has been going since 2015. And once upon a time, we asked for our emails and we didn't get them right away. But your cousin Bryan, first person who emailed us questions.
Really?
He was my first subscriber on YouTube.
Oh, Bryan.
Yeah. He once said, yeah, I listen to your podcast sometimes, but Niamh's the only one who actually plays games.
He's right.
He is right.
Yeah. then some of the other emails are from friends at work, but they didn't want to email in, so what they would do is they would type the email in the work chat app, and then I would copy paste them and then email them to our email.
Humble beginnings.
Yeah.
Man, simpler times.
So you know what, I know I'm always being mean, but it is super cool to get emails from complete strangers on the internet.
Oh yeah, and like
they're fun.
If people listen to this podcast, I appreciate it.
See that little animation someone sent us?
Yeah, I was like, we don't talk about poo that much. Also, that dude, he's the same guy that sent us the Mario cereal way back.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, he's
that
an
was
OG.
a time.
Yeah.
Your animation was very good. The email gave me a stock response that said, "I'm very proud of you," and I was very close to sending it. The animation he sent us was a little face and then someone pooping.
Yeah, it was a face straining and then a poo.
Yeah, and then the face smiling.
I would love to see some more Let's Fight a Boss animations. I think it's cool.
I don't think that was specifically Let's Fight a Boss.
No, it was just that the person had made it and they wanted to show it to someone.
Okay.
And you know what?
We all saw it.
Yeah, it was very good. Appreciate it. Do we do one more email?
Okay, let's squeeze one more in.
Okay. Artaku, fave bird noises. Hey, got any fave bird noises you like? I like crows myself. A classic.
I'm a huge fan of crows in general. Like, not just their noise, but the society they have formed outside of us, their intelligence, their gumption, their aesthetic. Crows, not a big fan of birds in general. You cannot teach a bird karate, but crows, brilliant.
I love the laugh that magpies do. That cackle.
It's pretty good.
I hate the noise seagulls make, but when I was a teenager, I was able to do a seagull impression, but I can't do it anymore.
I think you did that once or twice in college.
Yeah, that was about the last time I could do it, because it caused my throat to... Because you have to open and expand your throat to do it.
There's a girl on TikTok who does a very good seagull.
Yeah, like...
And that's her whole thing, and she's got like 4 million followers.
Oh my god.
I
wish I had a skill.
I think in fairness to her, she's actually
skill.
like funny as well. But
It is fun to go out into the middle of a park and do bird noises.
I can't really think of one that I like specifically over any other one. But lately there's been a bird outside my house that just starts singing like at 8 p.m. and 9 p.m. and I'm like, you're out of whack. And I just call him the sick bird.
something mildly sinister about that.
Yeah, it's just like wrong.
Dude, your
We're all
body clock is upside down.
Stop it. I like all bird song.
Like the way you just didn't break eye contact for the entire sentence.
I really like the sound a loon makes. It's always in like... Niamh dropped her phone.
I got a loon right here.
So Niamh dropped her phone, but it landed on the seat of the chair. But she did the most like range of
shit.
emotions. It was like,
Yeah,
woo!
I just drop my phone like all the time.
She went through several different animation cycles on that one.
Like Niamh is so well spoken all the time, but then when she drops her phone, it's just like the whole veil is just gone.
It's true.
Loon is I think it's a Canadian bird, but it has that. But it's always like used as a texture in sound design for like jungle movies, even though it's not. It's from the North America.
But we have to keep doing it now because we've been doing it for so long, and it wouldn't feel like a jungle without it.
It's just one of those like tropes. But yeah, thank you, Artaku.
Thank you, Artaku. Let's say we do some Patreon shoutouts.
Patreon.com/LFAB. We've got a super cool Discord. Rebecca was asking me again, what do the users on this Discord look like? I showed her the fashion channel. That fucking drip.
Oh, hell yeah.
Everyone fresh to death. Looks amazing.
Yep. Big fans of what's going on there.
You are wearing clothes, which is
I like
great.
to see the collection channel. Everyone has a lot of very nice games.
Yeah, there's a lot of really nice channels on the Discord in general. I personally frequent this one called Church of the Nameless.
Oh, that's not a very good channel.
It's fantastic. You wouldn't know because you're not allowed in.
No, I am. I kicked the hornet's nest.
You shouldn't do that. I'm considering starting up a separate Nameless Discord with very select application processes.
Oh, don't do that.
Did you pick your bishops yet officially?
I've picked Leon.
Have you said this to him?
Not yet, Leon.
He listens to them.
Great news, buddy. Guess what? The Nameless are getting into NFTs.
And it's your mission to learn 3D software.
No, I do want to congratulate Leon, the Nameless Panda. He has fought and clawed his way up through the ranks of the Nameless, of which there are many. Like, it's just, again, to point out, biggest group on the Let's Fight a Boss server.
I think my favorite Nameless member was the person who asked to join the Nameless and then immediately went, okay, now I want to leave. And became the Lost, and it was such a fucking good move. Fucking king.
Where is he now, though? Probably dead. Anyway.
If none of this makes sense to you, you can give us $3 a month. And maybe it will slightly make more sense. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But who knows? Maybe you will learn.
This one is from Joshua PD. When people ask me if I could meet any celebrity, who would it be? I say Bryan, John, or Niamh. I like the way he kind of really stayed in the bounds of his own question. Not all three of us. He knows it can only be one.
That's a realistic outcome.
Who would you meet out of the three of us, Bryan?
Bryan.
I'd probably pick Niamh, because I'd be like, I don't need to talk to two white dudes who talk about video games. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Just been there.
Boring.
This one is from Wes the Fitting. Niamh, I took your suggestion and stopped eating to support the podcast, but I'm calling it intermittent fasting so that it's healthy.
That is a real thing.
Good move.
Just a little suggestion for the rest of you freeloaders out there.
Yeah. Scrounge up. Just don't eat. Okay. This is from Nameless Dragon Rage.
Nameless Dragon Rage.
Yes. Can we get each member of the Boss Cast to do impressions of Simpsons characters?
Okay, can we pick who the other two? So you two pick what I do. Then me and Niamh pick Bryan.
Okay. Can we get Niamh to do Marge?
Please do Marge.
Hobie.
Keep going.
You gotta hum it out.
Get some gravel in that throat, Niamh.
I got nothing, guys.
Go like, hey homie.
Hey homie. Hey homie.
Oh, there we go.
I love you, homie. And you too, Bart.
Okay, we're not doing a poo. Can we get John to do Mo Sislak?
Okay, Mo Sislak. Trying to think of a good Mo Sislak line.
Ain't pretty no more. Or something like that.
Ain't so pretty. Oh, Homer. I was born a snake handler and I'll die a snake handler. His hand's covered in bandages.
So many secrets.
Oh,
and it's just like a pair of eyes. He's like, please let me out.
Oh, you know the bit where Homer suggests he knows something and he goes into the back room and they have a giant whale and he's like, shut it down! Shut it down!
Back to SeaWorld.
Niamh, who do you want to make Bryan do?
Nelson.
I don't know. Gotta nuke something.
That's the line. That is the line. Okay, this next one is from Nameless Orion. That Let's Play made me into a Shenmue fan and John should be held accountable.
Yeah, John.
It's nothing, that can't deny any factual accuracy in that statement.
This is from Nameless Vulcan. An Elementary Introduction to Irish Birds by Niamh, no surname, yes. That is her on the back of the book. Please be nice.
Niamh's bird book is just...
That is on hold forever. It's not happening. Bryan killed it.
She exposed herself and just got shut down right away.
She let a very honest part of herself slip into this podcast and Bryan beat the fuck out of it.
I can't remember what I said. Did I say...
It was something about just...
Oh, you look at the back.
You look at the back and it's a photo of a sad woman.
It's a sad old woman. I'm sorry, Niamh.
It's okay. It's okay. Now I don't even know the songs of Bird anymore.
But you know how you see these Irish books in like gift shops and
no,
shit?
I know what you're picturing, Bryan. I know exactly what sad woman you're picturing.
I feel like she'd have like a veil or a large hat.
The book had a book signing. It did 2 stops on the tour. It was all right.
How many people came to your book signing, Niamh?
Well, it was in Eason's and Wicklow, so 2.
Oh.
Okay, Boy Called Pigeon says, I think I jump around more when I'm alone.
Yeah, I get that.
Absolutely. That's super relatable. And those are the Patreon shoutouts.
Loot drop.
Did you go on the internet and find something cool to share with everyone?
Boy, did I.
Did you veto the channel just in case? Don't worry, our fans will let us know. I always get so worried about that. You find like a channel and then you're like, oh shit.
I know, that happened to me
Did
recently.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember before there was one and then you paused and you were like, actually that channel's, never mind, and I had to come up with another one. Mm-hmm. It's tough.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like, it's tough because you can't...
Yeah, it's a bummer.
It's difficult because you can't... It's incredibly difficult to go through someone's entire catalog. Like, okay, imagine someone had the job of figuring out, was I a Nazi or not? Like, what do? Watch all 8 days worth of my YouTube videos? It's probably not that many, but like, it's a lot,
Mm-hmm.
So if we ever accidentally recommend anyone bad, that was an accident and we just didn't know. Not that that's happened recently.
No,
definitely not.
but like, we do try our best to
Yeah.
share stuff that we think is worth looking at and had a response to us in some way.
Mm-hmm.
But we also have, time that isn't infinite.
For sure.
Yeah. So sad Niamh, who is current Niamh, I'm reaching into my bag of trusted, stable YouTubers, and I am recommending Cosplay Chris, and he is my comfort himbo. And I've been watching Cosplay Chris for like 8 years. He is a guy who is just extremely passionate about cosplay. Like, that's his thing, and he does like custom collectibles. But he's so passionate about cosplay, he can tell you what make and model of boot Robert Pattinson is wearing in the new Batman
That's
stuff.
cool.
That's very good.
The video I'm going to drop is his video on the history of the Halloween mask, and like the boot stuff, he can tell you exactly what like overalls Michael is wearing in what films, and like how the masks were made, how many of those real masks are still in existence. Like, he is someone who cares about screen accuracy, and we'll talk about that in a really nice and engaging way, but is extremely knowledgeable, but is also just a really personable, nice, fun person as well. So just a really good, like, you don't know what to watch, put on a Cosplay Chris video, because it's just going to be a nice time.
Because the mask is like a different mask turned inside out, isn't it?
Yeah, it was the Kirk mask
So it's Shatner's head turned inside out
with the eye holes cut out a bit more and sprayed
paint.
white. Yeah,
Wow,
That's cool. I just been listening to this song a whole bunch recently. It's Gone Guru from Dead Rising 1. And Dead Rising 1 has a really amazing soundtrack. This is the song that plays whenever you go out into the courtyard and the convicts are there. It'll give a lot of people anxiety flashbacks, but it's actually just a really cool song about really owning your own shit to the point that you know what you're about and no one else can tell you, and then doing that so well that you turn into a robot and live to be 1,000,000 years old. I listen to it when I run.
Nice. I have Illusory Wall on YouTube, who is a Dark Souls YouTuber. Remember last episode I was talking about that game, Gimmick, or Mr. Gimmick?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to be like on the nose about it, but there is elements of Dark Souls in this game, in that the enemies have an aggro, and there's a bunch of things where the developer is teaching you stuff by tricking you into dying, and then you learn your lesson. Illusory Wall, the Dark Souls YouTuber, has made a video on Mr. Gimmick and talks about it as if it's a Souls game, but it doesn't look like a Souls game, but it's just super interesting, and I really enjoyed this video. It's done in an older style of Let's Play, and I kind of missed this year of Let's Play where like there's narration, but most of the narration is actually text. And I can remember watching Let's Plays in the late 2000s where the person had capture card like accessibility, but might not have had a microphone, and so you would watch Let's Plays, but they would have like subtitles to go along with the footage, which kind of makes me miss old Let's Plays sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. And it's good to end on a Dark Souls-y kind of thing as well, because next episode we are all going to have played Elden Ring.
Oh yeah, and I'm not.
Bryan.
I don't want to play it right now. I'll play it eventually.
So, what was the game What was not the last game from
Sekiro?
And before that there was Dark Souls 3.
Dark Souls 3.
And before that there was
Bloodborne, my favorite video game ever made.
Video game of all time.
Yes.
But wasn't into Dark Souls 3, wasn't into Sekiro, Strike 1, 2, and no Strike 3. Just not giving them a chance, Brian. Unbelievable.
Does Demon Souls count, that remake?
No.
No, it doesn't. That's the big point. I am going to wait and see. I think this needs a couple of patches and maybe a couple of like quick guides before I play it.
No, you get right in there.
I was saying to you before we record, and you were saying this is very chaotic, and I might replay Breath of the Wild.
That's so chaotic.
Because it's its 5-year anniversary soon, and I don't know if I'll beat Breath of the Wild again, but I want to at least play the first.
It takes like 5 minutes to beat.
Yeah, it does.
Just walk in and kill Gavin.
That's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
I will not be getting Elden Ring. No, that could completely change in like 2 days' time or whatever.
Yeah, I think it might.
I might just cave and be like, please, because that happens sometimes.
I need help, Brian.
You
can help.
John.
Can I help you?
I thought all three of us could.
Okay, you know what?
Help each other.
Niamh, because you ignored me, no help now.
What?
On your own.
It was more of a leverage to get.
Well, you Game of Thrones yourself out of an ally.
I like Dark Souls 3, alright. It was pretty good places. Sekiro was cool. Bloodborne's the greatest game ever made. Never played Dark Souls. Oh, no, I played Dark Souls 1 because I got it on Switch, and I think you should replay Dark Souls again, John.
Wait.
Just to play it in 2022.
Just play Elden Ring. It's
play Elden Ring.
Maybe I'll play Dark Souls instead of Elden Ring. Good night, everybody.